veteran, coming on the show tonight. It's nice to finally meet you, brother.
You too.
Yeah. I'm ready to hear some stories, man.
I got 'em.
I want to know some
Ready.
countries. I want to know where you've been. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And yeah, it's going to be a good time, man.
I got a lot of answers.
You got a lot.
So let it go.
So back in 85
5.
is when you actually joined with the Air Force, right?
I signed up. I went on delayed enlistment for a year in May of '85, and I was actually only 16. My parents had to sign for me.
So you didn't have to be 18 then.
No,
Wow.
17. And what happened was they signed for me, and when I graduated high school, I had 1 year from that date. Well, May 1st, I had a year from May 1st that I had to actually tell them I'm ready to go, and they'd ship me off down to the MEPS in Montgomery and then go to Texas, basic training and all that. And I ended up going May 1st
May 1st.
of '86.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That is, talking about those kind of things, like, whenever you went into the basic training and all that kind of stuff, so were you 16 then?
No, I was until the 15th of May when my birthday was, and I turned 17. But by the time I got out of basic, I was already 17 and everything. But basic, when I went through, was 6 weeks long. Now it's 8 weeks long. So.
Oh, okay. Probably a lot of the same training though, probably.
Yeah, but they can't yell at you now. If they yell at you and cuss at you now in basic, you just raise your hand and call timeout, and they have to stop yelling. Seriously, they have to stop yelling at you. They can't yell at you and scream at you.
So there's no more of this, like,
No.
when I saw like Gomer Pyle,
No.
you can't get up in their face or
They
put a
used
bucket over their head
No.
or.
They'd
Wow.
get in our face, scream, spit at you, just scream bloody murder at you. And now if they raise their voice and the little trainee raises his hand, they have to stop and go to the next person.
Wow. See, I never knew it was like that even. So whenever you enlisted and stuff, you've been like, stationed in several countries. What all countries?
Well, I started out, my first assignment was Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas. And I was there for 1 year, and I was out working on a flight line one day, and my first sergeant came out, and he said, "Hey, you need to go to the orderly room, you got orders." I said, "I've only been here a year." He said, "You got orders." I said, "Where am I going?" He said, "They'll tell you all that when you get up there." So I get up to the orderly room, and they said, "You're going to Okinawa, Japan." And I was like, "Where the hell is Okinawa, Japan?"
That's why.
And then I remembered it. The secretary said, "Remember Karate Kid, that movie?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That's where they were, Okinawa." I said, "Oh, that's just great," you know? So I ended up going to Okinawa. I stayed there for 3 years, and my oldest son was actually born there. And from Okinawa, I went from Okinawa to Las Vegas to Nellis, and was there for 6 years. And from Nellis, I went to Osan Air Base in Korea. And from Korea, I went TDY, which is temporary duty.
Yeah.
And I went to Singapore. I've been to Singapore, Malaysia, the Azores, Russia, China, Cairo West, Cairo East, Malaysia. And then I left Korea, went to Charleston, South Carolina, to Charleston Air Force Base. And from there, well, let me back up a second. When I was in Las Vegas is when Desert Storm kicked off.
Okay.
And I had to go to Iraq I went for 6 months, came home for 2 months, went back for 6 more months, came home for 3 months, went back to, it's UAE, United Arab Emirates, and stayed there for 4 months and then came back. And then that's when I went from there. I went to Korea to Charleston to Guam.
Wow.
Anderson Air Force Base in Guam. And from Guam, I went to Hawaii. I went TDY to Hawaii, went TDY to Aruba. My job was fuels. We refueled all the aircraft, and we unloaded the barges from the commercial companies into the tanks. And it wasn't always military bases. Some was airports where like Air Force One would land and take off and everything. We'd have to sample the fuel before it could go on the plane. And just, I got to go to a lot of places because I've been to every state in the United States except Rhode Island. I've never been to Rhode Island, but I'm gonna go.
You gotta go trip up there.
I've been on both sides of it, around it, but I've never been. I told my wife one day we're gonna go to Rhode Island, so I can say I've been to every one of them.
I would definitely, that would be on my bucket list.
But
for sure.
Alaska, I've been to Alaska, I've been to China, I've been to Tokyo. I've been just about every little crap hole you can think of in between there. I've been to all of it too.
See, Alaska, I used to watch those Alaska shows all the time, man. I would love to go to Alaska and stay in one of them huts or whatever. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it is a beautiful country.
It's cold.
I guarantee you.
You know, everybody says, well, it stays dark for 6 months. It really doesn't get dark like it is about outside right now. When the time changed, about 7 o'clock, that's as dark as it gets around the clock.
Really?
It stays like that. And sometimes it might get a little darker. Maybe if it's cloudy, it'll get a little bit darker.
So it's basically visible to see. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
But what about Singapore? Singapore, I've got a buddy that went there on an oil rig one time. You can't even spit on the sidewalks.
No,
You will get arrested.
It's bad for a dipper if you're
I
in
guarantee you.
But the people there, the majority of them are friendly. You know,
Mhm.
the Philippines, they're friendly there, real friendly. Thailand's probably one of the best places I ever had a chance to go to. Bangkok was probably the prettiest place. I mean, we could be sitting in a bar drinking a beer and there's monkeys jumping around on the ceiling. You seen the movie
Hangover? I was supposed to
It's just
say.
like it. That is it. There is no exaggeration to that movie at all. We're sitting there at a table drinking beer and a monkey lands right on the table and he grabs a bowl of peanuts and slaps them right in my buddy's face. I mean, and you're looking at each other like, what? And you want to kill the monkey, but you know you can't because you're going to go to jail if you kill the monkey. But just monkeys and birds, I mean, birds that land on your shoulder, you're like in a regular zoo. It ain't like
So
a
it's
bar.
like it's
It's
like
like
an
a zoo.
animal
Oh,
kingdom.
yeah. But the people there are so nice. I mean, Thailand has the nicest people.
Are they English? Somewhat or
Broken.
Yeah, kinda
I mean,
English.
they've learned enough because they rely on the military.
Mhm.
A lot of Navy go into there. Just like, it's kind of like in Tokyo, a lot of Navy go in there. Singapore, Thailand, Guam. But Guam, they speak English. You know, they're a U.S. territory.
Right.
They speak, you still get some of them that speak in the regular village.
Right.
But that's some of the nice people you'll ever meet too. You'll be driving the islands 13 miles long and 7 miles wide.
Oh wow.
But it'll take you 4 hours to drive all the way around it. And on the weekends, you'll be driving on a Saturday around the island. These Chamorro people, that's what they're called, Chamorro. They'll stop you out by the road. And they'll say, hey, we're having a fiesta, come on. And you pull down and all the beer you can drink, all
So
the
they love
food.
Americans.
Oh yeah, when you
Yeah.
leave, they're handing you to go, excuse me, to go plates of food. And I mean, they want you to take, you can't take nothing to them. And my family's invited to several birthday parties and stuff. What do you want us to bring? Nothing, bring your family, you know, and you go there and they won't let you bring anything, but you leave with enough food to last you a week. I mean, it's just, and Guam's beautiful. It stayed, the average temperature year round there was between 72 and 87 year round. We go to the
Really?
beach every day if we want to.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It was nice. And the worst people I ever encountered was
That's what I was about to
probably
ask you.
Hawaii.
Really?
Some of the rudest people in the world. They
See,
do
I would
not
figure
like,
Hawaii would have been like a
they don't
really
like
fun
Americans.
spot.
no, they don't like
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they're just rude to you. And I mean, I've talked to people say, oh, I love Hawaii. Well, you may have, but they didn't really like the military.
Right.
Because the military comes over there and lives for 3 or 4 years and they leave. You know, a lot of military go over there and the officers and stuff, they'll buy up land and build a house or apartment. And you got to go through a bunch of red tape to get land to build on.
Oh, I guarantee you. Yeah.
And they just don't, everything's high over there. I remember the first time I went to Hawaii, I can recall going to McDonald's and I got a Big Mac, large fry, and large Coke, and it was $16. And that was back in 91, 92.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's crazy.
It probably cost you $30.
One beer in a club over there was $8 for a can of Budweiser. I don't know anybody drinks that anyway.
No,
but
I don't like
it was
Budweiser.
$8. It was $8 for a can of Budweiser. So you didn't do a lot. It was like Rock the South, except you're on an island. You know? It's Rock the South prices on an island. But I mean, downtown in Waikiki, Honolulu, in the tourist areas, oh, they love you because you spend your money. But when you want to get out and go venture out and go to the volcanoes and go to some of the trails and the villages, that's where they kind of don't like you impeding on their territory. You know?
Really?
Yeah, and if there's some Hawaiians listening, they'll probably say, well, that ain't true. It is true.
I don't think I have one listener from Hawaii.
Well, you probably will now. Somebody will share it and say, it was bad mouth Hawaiians. I have nothing against Hawaii. I drink Hawaiian punch regularly. When I go to the grocery store, I get it. I get a 12 pack. My wife loves it, the red.
Oh yeah.
So, and pineapple, she hates pineapple, but I get on my pizza just, you know. So.
I do too.
We're not bashing Hawaiians.
See, a lot of people say pineapple don't belong on pizza. but that's a lie.
It does.
It does, and I like that ranch dressing on there too, boy.
I got
Especially some homemade ranch.
Gotta
God
gotta get one of them little to-go cups to set out your
Mhm.
table and dip your pizza in it.
You daggum right. Yep.
I go to, what is that, a Dolphrey's in Coleman, and pineapple's only good on a ham or Canadian bacon.
Yeah, that's
It's-
right.
You can't put it on pepperoni, it just clashes.
No.
I always get 8 slices of pizza, get a big old bowl of ranch dressing, I sit there and dip my pizza in and eat, and everybody looks. My wife says I can't eat anything without putting a sauce on it.
That's the way I'm a condiment person.
Yeah, me
yes.
too.
My son, he'll ask for ketchup for everything.
Oh,
You know, I mean, it's like
My son's
ketchup
ranch
is-
everything, ranch on chicken, ranch on Hot Pockets, ranch on pizza rolls, bagel bites, what, except on the salad, he won't eat it on the salad.
Really? See, I eat salad ranch. I like Italian too, but I'll even take like a chicken wing, and I'm talking about I'll just dunk this thing
Oh,
in
yeah.
ranch. I mean, it's without the ranch, it would be worth
We
crap.
go to Buffalo Wild Wings and pay. His meal at Buffalo Wild Wings, he'll get 20 wings and fries. His meal alone is like $24. Me and my wife share 2 wings because we can't afford to pay for everybody to eat there.
Yeah.
So we let him eat and we share 2 wings. But he'll get, he says, oh, I gotta get the barbecue, it's the best. He'll get barbecue wings and he'll drown them in ranch sauce. So I'm thinking, well, why don't you just get plain wings and just dip them in the ranch? It ain't the same.
I always like to have mine crispy too.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
tell them a lot of my buddies that I work with on the railroad, we go to these wing places, they say, fry them hard. But now if you say that around like Coleman, they don't know what you're talking about. You go
Oh,
around
no,
the
we'll
burger
get a
down,
bone.
yeah, you tell them fry them hard, and them things come out perfect, man.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, he doesn't like the traditional. He only likes the bone. He said the other ones ain't got enough meat on them. So he gets the boneless, which I tried to tell him all that is a chicken finger cut up.
That's right. Yeah, that's not the same. It's not the same.
No.
Which I don't really. My grandmother and them used to eat like the thighs and the dark meat.
I like the thigh when you smoke it, but I won't eat it if it's fried or whatever.
See, I'm a chicken breast and wing kind of guy. I do not care for the. Me and you was talking about different things. I've been writing a bunch of stuff down about you and stuff, and we were talking about you've actually met several presidents, and flew on Air Force One. I want to hear about it.
You do? Oh,
Yeah, I
is
do.
that what you was leaving?
Yes,
You
I
don't
want to
hear
hear
about it?
about it. I want to hear
Well,
about it.
the first time I was 17 years old, I was a one striper, which is nothing. And I was stationed at Dyes, and they sent us out to the alert pad. And the only thing that ever lands there is secure aircraft, the
Right.
AWACS, all the secret squirrel planes land there. And they said we had 4 helicopters to refuel. And nobody said anything about, I get my fuel truck, my supervisor with me, because I was still learning how to do the job. And I wasn't even signed off to do it yet. And he was out there to train me. And these helicopters started landing. I said, man, them are cool helicopters. He goes, dude, that's the president. And I was like, what? President of what? He goes, the United States. And
So
then,
the Air Force One comes in. And you
well,
got
4 of them
the-
landed.
Oh wow!
Like, he will
Security
take
area.
off. Well, yeah, and there was security forces all around it.
Oh, I guarantee you.
It landed, and we're not supposed to refuel with people on them, so they were getting off. The pilots turned them off. And the third one that landed, the one next to last, we had already hooked up to the first one, and we were refueling it. Third one landed, because the way that works, he'll take off from the White House. He may be in number 1, but they'll stop somewhere along the way, and he'll change to number 2 or 3 or 4. So if someone's seen leaving 1, if somebody was trying to take him out or whatever,
Yeah.
this is what I was told. If
Yeah.
somebody's trying to take him out, they'll land somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and he'll change helicopters and take off again. And he'll land. When he lands, he won't be in 1. But it just so happens I'm refueling
They're
one
just gonna
first,
try
so if they're
that.
gonna blow it up, I'm going.
Right.
Because they thought he was on
yeah.
one. But we're sitting there, and I get the fuel nozzle hooked up to the helicopter and everything, and he comes walking towards us. It was Ronald Reagan. He had on this big brown bomber jacket. His one hair slick back.
Reagan, I've always heard was the best.
Ray-Bans on. He come walking up, and he goes, "How you doing, young man?" I salute him. He saluted me back. He said, "How you doing, young man?" I said, "I'm doing great." I said, he says, "Is there anywhere around here where I can smoke?" I said, "You can smoke wherever you want." He goes, "No, I know y'all got rules, because you got to be 50 feet away."
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "I want to do it right by the rules." He goes, "What are you doing? Are you refueling all these?" I said, "Yeah." And he looked at my boss. He said, "You know how to do this?" He goes, "Yes, sir." He goes, "When you finish up, I'm going to take him over here." And, when Amy York was on that, he said,
Yeah.
"Come on, York, let's go." We walk over, and he said, "We far enough away?" I said, "Yeah, we're good." So he started talking, asked me where I was from. He knew where Coleman was,
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother I hate to admit it, but she was a big Jimmy Carter. She ran his campaign for the North Alabama.
Really?
When Carter ran. Carter and Mondale, I think it was.
Yeah, I'd probably
Yeah.
say.
But she was involved with all that. They're all Democrats. They weren't right in the head, but they're all Democrats.
Well, the Democrats back in the day were for the
Oh
people.
yeah.
Now
Except
they-
Jimmy Carter. I mean,
Yeah,
he did
it's
that
just
sound off the mouse.
Nowadays it's not. It's for the non-working people.
But we go over there and we're talking. He's asked me if I was married, and I told him I just got married. I've been married about a month and a half, and we was talking and everything. We probably talked for about 35, 40 minutes, and he said, well, he says, hang on, I got something for you. He went over to his helicopter, and he came back with his bag. He said, here's your little goodie bag, in case your friends don't believe who you was talking to. And at the time he smoked, I think it was Barkley cigarettes, and they had a cardboard sleeve you put them in that had the presidential seal on, it was red, white, and blue, and everything.
Really?
And he gave me 2 packs of them, and he goes, you probably not old enough to smoke yet, so you can throw the cigarettes away. He gave me those, gave me a couple of ink pens, gave me a little coin, and shook my hand, and I saluted him, and he goes, oh, we're friends, we ain't gotta do that no more. And he just walked off, and he said, I appreciate your job and your service, and he got on his chopper and he left.
Oh wow.
And then, I guess it was when I was in Vegas, and Air Force One landed, and it was George Bush, the first.
The senior.
Yeah. And his plane landed, and he got in the limo, and they drove off. He was going for some show and tell up at Area 51 where the
Oh yeah, where
Martians are.
Yeah. The aliens.
I can't say that. Yeah. No, but he was gone probably 3 or 4 hours. We refueled the plane. It took probably 2 hours to refuel it because it held thousands of gallons. And I go up, and the Secret Service guy's showing me and my friend around the plane. So we go in, and he said, this is where the big man sits when he's flying. And the seat said George embroidered in it, and this one said Barb. And so I sat down in George's, and I got these headsets on, and I'm going through his music list, and I'm sitting there, my own business.
You gotta tell me some kind of music.
I'm going through the list, and I found a song. I'm about halfway through the song, and I turned around, and it was him, and I jumped up and threw that headset off, and jumped up and slid. He goes, easy, easy, easy. He said, what you listening to? I said, Little Hank Williams Jr. That's a good one. And I said, here, you can have your, he said, no, sit down. So he sat in the other seat, and he said, I got some Earl Haggard on here too. And we were talking, and same thing. He asked me where I was from, everything. And I'll tell you something that's really strange about it is I met him, and then a year later, we were refueling his plane again. And I think we were in the Azores. And he remembered me.
Really?
He remembered me, he remembered my mom and dad's name. And he says, you look familiar, Scott. And I mean, it's like, and I'm thinking to myself, how does he remember all the people he talks to, you know?
Oh man.
And the Secret Service guy said he's got a memory like this, you know. He's no Joe Biden. I mean, this guy remembers his name. And he remembered my name after a year, you know.
Oh yeah.
But, and I met him.
Especially just from like a short term too.
Oh, yeah.
Just got him shooting the breeze with you and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he was down to earth. He was probably, between him and his son, they were both probably about the same, but I think Reagan was the nicest one. He was sincere, you could tell.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he was just a nice guy. But, and Barbara Bush, you know, I talked to her the second time, she was with him, and she was kind of, you know, she was older.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
But the son, George Jr. there, he was okay. He was nice. He was intriguing, you know.
Right.
He'd bait you to ask you stuff, you know, and everything. His wife's super nice lady.
I say I always liked Bush. I always liked.
I like
I
both
don't
of them.
remember Senior because I was too young. But George Bush. One thing I like about Junior was it was like when the war in Iraq. You know, I was 18. September 11th had just happened. You know,
And you wanted to join, didn't you?
I couldn't. There's no way they would have put me on the front line, or they might have.
It's okay.
But I was blind in my eye for 14 years.
I see when he thought he was in the draft.
I got hurt when I
That was Adam, wasn't it? Adam jabbed himself in the eye so he wouldn't have to get drafted. All right.
My mother told me, said, you got to, she said, I'm gonna tie one of your legs up and make you jump off the roof and break your leg. Because, you know, they were talking about the draft. But I would have actually, I probably would have won it. You know, I mean, we were all fired up. Hell, we were young.
It was fun.
Yeah, you know. And, but I remember watching on the news. Yeah, he was on every channel, George Bush was. He's got this announcement out about Iraq. you know, and he's like, we know they got weapons of mass destruction, and we're fixing to go in there, and we're fixing to take this over. And he said, I think he said they got 48 hours to turn these things up. The next morning I woke up, we were in war.
Yeah, it was bombing.
Yeah, we didn't send no leaflets. Like, it was like, hey, by God, let me tell you something, son, I ain't playing around. You know, the American people are what's most important to me, you know. But I mean,
Yeah, he was a go-getter. I mean, the worst one I ever met was Clinton, probably.
really?
To me, he just seemed fake. I mean, he wasn't, you know, he come up, how you doing? I'm Bill Clinton, you know, he's like, oh yeah, okay. And you know, but Hillary, whole different animal. Probably the snobbiest person I ever met.
Oh, I guarantee you.
Just turned her head like you were below her, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are they doing on here? Do they have a purpose on here? Guy was showing us around because that was a newer version of the Air Force One. No, that was Air Force Two. Actually, they were on because they were going somewhere local, and they flew on that one because I think the vice president at the time was over in Japan at a summit or something. But it was a different plane. It was something different. And you know, in the movie where they show that long table in the plane, that's what that's identical to it. I mean, there's probably 40 chairs down each side of this big old oak table, and that's where they have all their conferences when they're flying from country to country. And I'll never forget, the guy he come up and he asked us if we'd eaten supper yet. We said no. I said, what you got good to eat? I was just messing with him, right? And he said, what do you want? And he handed me a menu, and it was steak and lobster, jumbo prawn, sirloin, ribeye, filet and lobster. Oh yeah. And I said, well, what can I get? He said, you can get anything you want. I said, what if I want 2 things? He said, you can get 4 things. It don't matter. You just write down and they hand you this little piece of paper. He says, you take your pen and put a check mark by everything you want, and it'll bring it. Well, I had steak and Maine lobster and jumbo prawn cocktail, and when they brought it out, I ain't kidding you, them shrimp were as big as this body armor bottle, just about already peeled and things sitting in some cocktail sauce. I was like, man, I could get used to this.
It didn't have no vein.
And I remember George Sr. said, you get fat eating this stuff every day. But he was the coolest one as far as the tour goes, because once he gave you a tour, the rest of them was just boring. He took us and showed us where the armory was in it, opened the door, showed us all the guns, and I mean, that plane is like crazy.
I watched a show too, with the September 11th thing, about, they had like a code name or whatever for that plane and stuff, and just talking about how, what you're talking about, you know, I mean, you really can't keep track of it, and that's what it should be.
Yeah, they change it all the time. I mean, they have different codes for it. But, you know, when I met Clinton, he flew into Charleston, South Carolina, and they were going to look at the dam project there or something. I forget what they were doing there. But anyway, you know, he comes down the steps and we're getting ready to refuel the plane. He comes walking over, shakes our hands, you know, and we started saluting. He's like, no, you know. He shakes her hand and she comes down, she's in there, she goes, it's getting cold out here. And he told
Hillary
her,
did?
yeah.
Oh my God.
He told her to go get in the limo, so she went and he's standing there talking.
She probably had
She
emails
actually
to
rolled the
send.
window down twice and told him, let's go. You know, she was just
Oh
like,
Lord.
he said, well, dude, he called, you know, I gotta go. Well, he
I did
left.
not have sex.
Yeah. Remind me to slap myself. But, I mean, it was crazy, you know, but, I mean, I would say probably the Bushes were probably second, but Reagan was the first. You know, he was just down there, and he talked to you like you were a human.
Right.
Well, so did the first Bush. The second one's kind of, he had a lot on his mind. He had a lot of stuff going on in his head at the time when I met him. I mean, 9/11 had happened like a year prior to that, you know. But
Now
you
you
talk
were
about
in, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You talk about 9/11. I remember I was stationed in Guam at the time, and I worked at the fuel storage area where we held all the fuel for the base. And I had 11 tanks that held almost 800,000 gallons apiece on. I left to go home on September the 10th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I lived in base housing. And when I left, I have to go up a hill, and as I top the hill, you can see the whole flight line. There's usually about 6 planes out there on any given day. That's it.
Right.
6 little fighters, a couple of Learjets. I got a phone call at 3 in the morning. My boss said, you need to get to work now. And I was like, what's going on? He said, just get to work. I'll talk to you when, go to
This was
store.
on the 10th or the,
This was actually, it would have been 11 for us.
right, yeah.
He says, you need to get to work now. And I said, what's going on, man? Are you kidding? He goes, no, get to work. He said, I'll call me when you get there and I'll fill you in. Well, I got dressed. I turned the TV on and I put my boots on. I'm half asleep and I look and these planes are crashing into the World Trade Center. And I said,
Oh, yeah.
damn, what's King Kong doing on this time in the morning? Because I thought it was a movie on TV.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I seen the ticker tape across the bottom. It said the plane is hit. And I said, holy crap. I said, this is real. So I went, got dressed, grabbed my go bag, threw it in my little Samurai I had, and I drive over that hill. And the flight line, you couldn't park another plane on it. There was like 12 B-52 bombers on it, like 6 B-1s, over 100 F-16s and F-15s just loaded down
Oh, wow.
with missiles and everything. They were just like, you couldn't get another plane out there. There was probably 250 planes on there.
Just ready to go.
And I said, and they were all moving around, they were landing, taking off. I said, what the heck is going on? And I got to work, and they had already emptied 4 of those tanks out, filling up. But a B-52, I mean, if you went out there to refill that, you're sitting out there for 3 hours. Cause it
Now,
was
B-52, is that kind of like,
that's the long range bomber. I mean,
okay, not
Yeah.
like what Top Gun kind of stuff, more
No.
like a,
no, Top Gun was the F-18s and stuff,
okay,
but I did get an incentive ride in the F-16 once.
really?
When I was stationed at Dice, I got Airman of the Year.
That's
And
awesome.
they said, hey, you get to go on the incentive ride. And it was supposed to be in the T-37, a little trainer jet with a
Mhm.
trainer pilot. And all of them had got grounded for some reason or other, so they had an F-16 pilot there. And we showed up at the hangar. He goes, well, I can take you. And so we go and we get suited up in this little flight suit and everything. And he was having me do these stretches and exercises. He tried to make me sick. I mean, he shot straight up when he took off, pulling like 2.5, 3 Gs. And he's like, go ahead, throw up. Don't be proud. And I was not going to throw up.
You're doing
My
everything.
friend that went up after me, he threw up
Yeah.
all over the windshield.
Oh, I guarantee you, yeah, I get motion sickness.
But he tried and tried, and my chest was hurting so bad, I wanted to just hurl. But I wasn't going to, you know. Like I said, I was 17, you know, almost
Oh, yeah.
18 then. And we landed, and he goes, that was pretty good. He said, normally, 2 minutes in the flight, they're throwing up. Because he gave me a bag, and he said, you're going to need this. I said, I won't need it. He goes, oh, you're going to need it. I said, no, I won't need it.
So that's in one of those like Top Gun planes. That's awesome.
No, that was the F-16. You remember the movie Iron Eagle? That old Lou Gossett Jr. played? It's a smaller, it's what does most of the flyovers at football games and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
The little needle.
I've seen those,
looking-
they're loud though.
Yeah,
When they get
yeah.
by, I mean, it is. But
And then the F-15, the F-4 was my favorite plane. It was the loudest. That and the F-111. They're older now, they don't use them anymore. They had them when I was stationed, when I went TDY to the Philippines. And that's probably why I'm deaf in one ear, because I never wore my hearing protection. I couldn't stand them little foamy earplugs in my ear.
yeah.
And then I paid the price, but I have hearing aids I'm supposed to wear too. I wear them all the time. But,
No, we don't.
yeah, I mean, I got to see a lot of stuff.
Back on, we were talking about that September 11th, they were landing all those, and
Oh yeah, they landed all
I
in.
interrupted you. I'm bad about it. I'm getting
My
somebody
wife
sidetracked.
said, she goes, let somebody talk with you.
No, I'll sidetrack somebody.
You make your match, you know. But by the end of the day, that time, this is no lie, I didn't go home. I was there for 9 days straight. I didn't go home. I probably stayed up for 3 days straight solid. We were just,
Wow.
we were having to receive fuel. Tankers were coming, and we were offloading at the other end of the island. We had a pipeline. We had to travel once a week to check for leaks and stuff. And that's the road we was taking to go and hook up to the barges and pump. And we were emptying them tanks as fast as we'd empty them, we'd fill another one. This went on for 20-something days.
Oh, yeah, because you know, it was like, they acted like there was going to be a huge fuel shortage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like, you know, right there in Holly Pond, I actually got off.
When jet belt run out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was one of the, I actually took my vehicle through, and then my dad actually got me to put the farm truck, take the farm truck through, fill it up too, just in case we needed it, you know. But those were that was scary. That was very, very scary.
Well, it was scary over there too.
Oh, I guarantee you it was.
I mean, we had people just passing out. They'd be at work and they just drop, you know,
Oh,
from
yeah.
exhaustion. And eating, I mean, they had them MREs eating out of the bags, you know, and stuff, because the chow halls ran out of food. The commissaries running out of food. I mean, cargo planes landed with groceries every day to keep people with food, you know, for
Yeah.
their families and dependents and everything on the island. All the restaurants downtown run out of food.
Now you were in Hawaii then, right?
Guam.
Guam, okay.
I
So
would've
you were
stayed
in
in
another country itself then.
Well, it's a U.S. territory. We were 8-hour flight to Hawaii from Guam.
Okay.
But I mean, we were out in the middle of nowhere, but
Well,
I mean-
still at that point you didn't really know.
that was
What
my
was
best
going
assignment out of
on?
every one of them. That was the best.
Real.
Yeah, we could go to the beach every day if we wanted to. The average temperature was 76 to like 84 every day year round. And we had beaches on the base you could go to. You could go downtown to the beaches. I mean, all the big hotels, the Hilton stuff, you walk out the back, the bars are there and they're on the beaches and just big parties. You know, that whole town was, and everybody there was friendly. And they had the world's largest Kmart there.
Hmm?
Oh yeah, it's huge. And
I would love that actually.
you know what their main consumption is there? Spam. They're
Really?
the spam capital of the world. You go in Kmart, and you know how long the aisles are
Oh
in
yeah,
Kmart?
yeah.
Both sides, right and left, is nothing but different kinds of spam. You got garlic spam. I sound like Bubba Gump, but you got garlic spam. You got pickled spam. You got garlic spam again with hot sauce in it. I mean, just
Oh,
every
man.
kind of spam. You can go to Denny's there on the island and get spam and eggs. You can get a spam omelet. You can get spam fried rice.
You can't order spam anywhere around
No.
here. I mean, no.
But they like their spam, and I like spam if it's fried. It has to be fried. I can't eat that stuff. The locals that work for me there
Yeah.
on the base, they'd bring a can of spam in, dump it out, and it's got that old spalagma on it, you know,
Oh,
and they'll take their pocket knife, just cut it and put on crackers, eat it with that slime on it and everything.
It's
But
like
they all have
that.
gout too, yeah. Most of them are out at least once or twice a year with gout in their feet, you know, because they eat so much spam.
Yeah, the preserved thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's the preserved meats.
Spam cocktails. I mean, they have it on toothpicks. You go to parties downtown in the big hotels, and they have these fancy little sword toothpicks, and they'll be stuck to a piece of spam.
Like a Bloody Mary.
Oh
with
yeah,
spam
and you
on
pick it up and eat it like you're rich, you know. You're eating spam. You're high on the hog. you
That's
know?
awesome.
But yeah, that was my dad. That's when we found out my dad. I've been there 2 years, and I had orders to Minot, North Dakota, and I did not want to go to Minot. I had a bunch of friends that were there, and they liked it. And they said, "Yeah, hunting and fishing's great up here, you know." And I said, "Yeah, if you don't freeze to death." And they had B-52s there, and that gives me another story too.
Hey, we got all the time in the world, brother.
But anyway, what was I saying?
B-52.
B-52.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to go there because that was a MAC base, Military Airlift Command, and it used to be SAC, and then they went back to SAC, Strategic Air Command. And at a big base like that, you don't really, I like the smaller aircraft because the big ones, when you go out to refuel them, you're out there for hours. And if it's cold, you can only be out so many minutes, you gotta get back in the van, somebody will go relieve you because you can only
Oh, so
stay
y'all
out
like
there.
took turns and all
Oh yeah,
that.
you had to. They wouldn't let you be out in the
How many
cold.
gallons? How many gallons of fuel you think?
30,000.
Really?
35,000.
Gallons of fuel?
Yeah, because those B-52s have to be able to go from point A to point B without
Right.
stopping. And I was gonna tell you when I was at DICE when I was young, it was about a month after Reagan had come, the first B-1 bomber ever to the Air Force was
Wow.
delivered to DICE. It was called the Star of Abilene. First one, I got to refuel that. I newspaper clips at home shows me refuel. Had my name and everything. I refueled the first ever B-1.
Really? That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. But I was in the paper center with one little stripe on.
I feel bad because I complain about how long it takes me to pump diesel. I'm
Oh,
like 30,000.
Well, when I was stationed in Vegas, we had the Thunderbirds there. And 8 of them would land at one time, and they'd call all 8 of them at one time, and you'd go, and one fuel truck, 6,000 gallon truck, would do all 8 of them, because they only held about 900 gallons every
So
time.
some of them's more fuel efficient than the
Oh, well, it was
size-wise, I
F-16s,
guess.
yeah. They had only put enough in them that they needed to do their little testing.
Right.
And they flew out there every day just about. But they'd land, you'd park your truck here in between 3 of them, and you just pull your hose out, big 50-foot hose, and you go to this one, when you're done, you go to the next one, and the next one, and pull your truck up. We hated doing the Thunderbirds. Them guys, they thought they were God's gift to the Air Force world,
Yeah.
you know, dressed in their little different uniforms, with scarves on.
Is that the ones that's got the glass top, like the, is it kind of like the,
Yeah, it's got the tinted glass top on.
right.
I mean, most of the pilots and stuff were pretty cool, but their crew chiefs always thought. I mean, you had to be elite, you had to be hand selected to be a crew chief on those.
right.
So, and they had to put up with a lot of crap. Their shoes had to be spotless and shiny. They'd blind you when you look at them. They could never have dirt on their hands or anything when they went out there. And
See,
I mean,
what is that? I know I don't want to step on toes or anything, but like the military, they always want like the boots clean and you know,
oh yeah,
yeah, everything's got to be real proper. I mean, like some of them. I mean, our military's pretty bad, eh? You know, I mean,
yeah.
we're
Some of them are. I mean, you have a few dirt bags. That
Right.
go on. I would have so much polish on my boots, kiwi polish. But in Vegas, it got so hot. The flight line was white. The concrete was white. And the thermometers are usually between 110 and 120 every day. And I would look down at the ground and the kiwi shoe polish would be melting off my boots. That's how hot it was. It'd be running paint off the tips of my boots. That's how hot it got out there.
And I ain't being funny. I'm just talking about like
Yeah, but I mean, we'd have
dressed
inspections
and-
once a week and uniform had to be creased. And,
all I'd worry about is looking in them eyes and being like, I can
Yeah.
tell you right now, you got the fire, son. You know, it's like I know when you get over there, you're gonna be ready.
I mean,
you know?
it's not for everybody. I mean, I tell everybody, I have parents for the last 30 years ask me, well, my son's thinking about going in the Air Force, you know, and if I know the kid, I'll tell him. I said, well, that's not for him, trust me. You know,
Right, yeah.
my oldest son went in, and I told him, whatever you do, don't go into fuel's career field. I said, because when I was a flight chief in several different places, I had 40, 50 airmen working for me and 20, 30 civilians that were under me. I was in charge of them. And I said, some people like me, some people didn't.
Don't, yeah.
I said, so you don't want to go in that career field. What does he do? He goes in the same career field. When he called me and told me from tech school, Dad, I'm going into fuels. I said, Zach, listen, whatever you do not tell anybody that I'm your dad. Don't tell them, because I said, like I told you before, some people like me, some people hated me.
Yeah.
The ones that hate you is the ones you made do their job. So they didn't like you because you were an ass, because you made them work, you know.
Right, yeah.
And what does he do? He gets to his first base in Germany, Ramstein. Guy comes out. He says, York, I know that now. My dad's in the Air Force. Yep. He's Master Sergeant. He's in the Air Force. And from that day on, he had a bad road, because that guy used to work for me when he was an airman, and I'd reprimanded him several times. He was a dirtbag. How he got that high to be a flight chief, I don't know. Somebody just pushed him through, but my son had the worst time there. He got bad performance ratings and everything, and I told him, I said, I told you not to.
Yeah.
Then he went from there to Nebraska, and one of my best friends was a flight chief there. But I had never mentioned Zach to him that he shows up and he says, Zach, was your dad Scott? I said, yeah, you know him? And about 2 months after he'd been there, my buddy calls me and says, dude, you need to have a talk with your son. He thinks he knows more about fuels than I do. And that was always Zach's problem.
Yeah.
He grew up around me, but he seen how I talk to other people, and he thought he could do that as an airman. And here I am, a senior NCO.
Right, you put your time in.
Right.
Yeah.
But he thought as a 1-striper, 2-striper, he could talk to 5 and 6 stripers like
you would talk to them.
Right.
Yeah.
and that's what got him in trouble. And that, my buddy Patrick, I'll never forget it. He called me several times and said, dude, I'm fixing to kick your son out. But he ended up doing it in 6 years and getting out anyway. He said it wasn't for him. He said everybody was douchebags. Well, of course they were, you know. And he said, it ain't like it was when you was in, Dad. I said, no, because you'd been kicked out after 2 years, you know. But all in all, you know, you sacrifice a lot when you do that. My goal was to go in and do my 4 years and get out. Well, I was in 3 years, I made rank, so I re-enlisted. I was in 2 more years, I made rank again, so I re-enlisted. I got up to like 12 years, and I was going to get out. And my dad said, son, why are you getting out? He said, 8 more years, you can retire and have a check for the rest of your life. You'll have a retirement check. 20 years, you can retire. I said, all right, I'll stay. So I stayed at 20. I ended up re-enlisting again.
So when do you actually retire out there? Is it a certain age or is it a certain?
Well,
years,
if you got to be a certain rank. Like if you're E6 at the time when I was still in, a E6, 20 years was your max. You had to retire. No, E5, staff sergeant. You had to retire at 20. E6 was 22. E7 was 24. And then E8, you could go for 30. Well, when I got to my 20-year mark, I was going to retire. And I was like, well, you know, it's easy now. I'm in charge. You know, I'm the boss.
Right, yeah.
I got all these 60 people working for me. I got it made. I come work, check my email, drink coffee, go to lunch, come back, check my email, drink more coffee, and go home.
Yeah.
I just gotta make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But I had good people under me, so it made it easier. So I re-enlisted again 4 more years. Well, I was the youngest one to make rank. When I made Master Sergeant, I was the youngest one. So they told me I was gonna have to go to Iraq to be a first sergeant for a year. I said, that ain't happening. I've done been over there 11 times. I ain't going back again. You know,
Right.
I'm done with that. They said, well, you ain't got no choice. I said, well, yeah, I do. I'll retire. Well, then they ended up canceling my order, so I didn't have to retire. So I did my 24, made rank again. And they told me this time for sure you gotta go. I said, no, I'll retire. And they said, you can't retire. I said, you can't stop me. Anybody over 20,
Right.
they can't keep you from retiring unless your career field is undermanned heavily. And ours wasn't. We were overmanned. They were making people cross-train in different jobs. So I knew they couldn't keep
So
us.
our military, we have a lot of.
Well, at the time,
At the
now when I
time,
retired in 2010, almost 2011, we were pretty beefed up. But now it's so hard to get people. The benefits used to be good. When I first went in, when you retired, you got free medical and dental your whole life, the rest of your life when you retired after 20. And now I pay close to $200 a month for medical coverage for me and my family, and another $30 for dental. And I mean, everything was free back in the day. Now, because all the red tape and everything, it costs pay for all your prescriptions. Before you didn't have to pay for any prescriptions.
Well, see, I think if a person puts in 20+ years in the military, I mean, where I can sit here tonight and bump my gums, just having a good time. I can go to sleep tonight, not have to worry about all that. Hell, I think it ought to be free.
Well, a lot of people, a lot of people think like that, and a lot of them think, well, why, just because you were in there,
Yeah.
And, everybody always asks me,
But
all my
you think-
friends growing up said, why did you do that? Why not?
Yeah.
Who else? Somebody got to do it, you know?
Yeah. Well, the people that ditch us, they were like, hey, here's your backpack.
Yeah.
And a gun.
It didn't bother me, but
but
like I said, it sacrifices a lot of family time. You miss birthdays, anniversaries.
oh, I guarantee
My dad got sick. I wasn't able to spend. They did do me a favor, I told them I wanted a humanitarian, which means they try to get you as close to home as they can. And I could have went to Columbus, Mississippi, which would have been real close.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go. I'd been to that base before, TDY, and I just didn't like it. And they said, we can get you Robbins Air Force Base in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Yeah.
And that's about, I could make it home. Technically, it's supposed to take 4.5 hours. I can make it home in 3 hours and 45 minutes from
Right.
my driveway there to here. And when my dad got sick, and I came back from Guam, because I would have stayed in Guam another 2 years. But my dad got sick, so I came back, because I loved it over there. And I came back to Warner Robins, and I was coming home like every other weekend and mowing. They had redid my great-grandparents' house out at Spring Hill, and they had moved out there, and I was coming home, because he wasn't able to mow the yard and stuff, and it was about 3 acres he had to mow. So I was coming home every other weekend and doing that. But you lose a lot of time from your friends. Nothing having my friends
Oh, it's a
pass away.
sacrifice. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's a,
Yeah, and
people are cut out for it.
it
People
bothers
aren't.
a lot of people. To me, it kind of bothered me, but I always had the impression in the back of my mind, well, your parents are always going to be there. Your friends are always going to be there.
Yeah.
And then when my friends started dying off car wrecks, like Jeff Morton, like we was talking about,
Right.
and you think, well, God, I didn't even get to say bye to him. But I would come home every Thanksgiving, we'd go hunting with Deer Club, because his dad and my dad we were members of the same club in Tuscaloosa, and we'd go down for a week. So we, I always kept up with him. And like I said earlier about Key Quick, I always made a point to go see him and stuff. Me and him remain best friends today, even though I didn't come home for 2 years at a time. Or sometimes I'd come home and not get to go see him. I wouldn't see him for 3 years, but when we get together, it's like we never missed a beat, And it's still like that today. And you got some people that, I can go through Holly Pond and see people I graduated with, and they like turn and don't act like they don't even know you. So I call them out. I make them talk to me. Hey, what's up?
Oh, yeah.
I'm that type of ass. I just make them talk to me.
Well, some of my favorite videos is like the kids, like these babies that are born or whatever, and it's like their husband's getting off the plane, and I mean, it really is. I mean, I can sit and watch those things all day. Where you got like the
where the
where they
reuniting.
surprise,
Yeah.
They might even surprise a kid at like an assembly or something, or it might be like a football game and dad comes out,
My kids would be like, oh, hell, he's home. When you leaving again?
We gotta straighten up.
When are you leaving again? You gotta go back again? My mom always kept me. She was OBGYN nurse at Coleman for 50-some years. And she delivered a lot of babies on her own when the doctors couldn't help. She probably delivered you if you was born. My mom knows just about everybody. every time somebody I knew would have a kid, she would call me or text me or email me. So and so just had their third kid. So and so just had their fourth kid. And I said, well, I'm glad I didn't marry them. You know? And she always kept me informed of everybody that passed away and stuff. And then when she passed away, it's like nobody tells you anything. You know, I got uncles that live here, you know, and I'll find out a cousin died a month later. Say, well, you know, we was at the funeral. Whose funeral? Oh, Bobby Joe. What? Yeah, he died. Did you call me? Because I lost track of all these cousins and stuff. You know, we used to have family reunions, big get together. I know y'all probably did too. Once a year, everybody meeting grandma.
That's how we met our girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. With the Gibbses, yeah, I'm sure. You got that inbreeding going on. But anyway, they
I think I'm kin to my wife somehow, but
you probably are. You probably cousins.
A lot of people didn't know which side of the chapel was sitting on.
Half siblings. Yeah. They come in, they say, just say it anywhere, it don't matter, we all can. You know, you go to a funeral and they say the pallbearers and them all 60 of them, you know. Everybody was fighting over who gets to be the pallbearer. But, you know, and me and you talked about earlier about growth and like Holly Pond and stuff. I know your dad and all these other people say, we need to get more restaurants. I don't like that. I go to when I left Coleman, we had a McDonald's, a Burger King, and that was it, basically. I mean, we didn't have a lot of fast food. Right. And if we went out to eat, it was a treat. I mean, hey, we're going out to church, we're going to McDonald's. Or after a ball game, occasionally. Now, every teenager thinks after every ball game, they got to go get a Big Mac and fries or Zaxby's or something. I mean, it kills you, man, when you're trying to feed kids after sports game.
We go to church. Every time we go to church, we hit a Mexican restaurant. I mean, that's just...
What did you find one in that cold?
No, I'll go... I'm close to A-Rab, so we always go to A-Rab a lot of times. Which I go to Alameda.
You go to Sierra's.
Yeah, we go to Sierra's.
Well, you know they turned the Hook into Mexican.
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
And it's Alameda's. It's going to be Alameda's too. It's the same people who run that store.
Yeah.
I told people, all you need is chips and sauce. People will come. It don't matter. Because all the entrees are the same. It's hamburger meat rolled in a different tortilla or flipped over and burrito with a different colored sauce on it. It's all the same hamburger meat. It doesn't matter what it is. It's probably horse. You don't know, but the chips and sauce is what gets everybody.
I love it, man.
And I used to go to Buena Vista out there on 137.
Yeah.
And they started charging. After one thing of chips now, they charge you $1.50 for an extra chips and salsa. So we don't go there anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
If you're not going to feed me while I wait on that food.
That's like charging somebody for refills.
Oh, yeah. But you know, everybody says, oh, I wish we'd get a McDonald's in Holly Pond or a Subway or something. All that does is bring more riffraff, more traffic in. I like Holly Pond the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, we moved back here and we was trying to find land in Fairview and everywhere else. We couldn't find any. And that was when everybody was asking $800,000 for a $150,000 house. And some of these idiots still doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I finally got lucky, found 14 and a half acres and bought it. We built our house there and put my kid in Holly Pond because he wanted to go there because that's where I graduated. He said, I want to go to your school. I said, okay. Went there, tried out for a football team. Well, there wasn't no trying out. They don't have 18 kids.
Oh, yeah, no. Holly Pond, they would take everybody. Back when I was in school, you played football.
Well, Holly Pond's always been a basketball team. I don't care what anybody says. We've never been known for football. But basketball, they used to whip everybody, you know? And now, I want to bash them because I got a lot of friends that have kids together. Yeah. But the problem with Holly Pond is their football and their baseball and stuff, they don't keep a coach long enough to get situated.
Pull some of those people.
He don't win 5 games, they get rid of it. Well, you know, I don't think they've won but like 7 in the last 5 years, you know? And that may be an exaggeration in football. But my son...
they were the longest... one time, it was the longest running record.
Wasn't it like 31 games or something like that?
31
or 61.
It was a bunch of games they had not even.
Well, when we moved here, I thought, well, yeah, this will be cool. You know, and he went. He did real good. He played in the spring game at Jacksonville State down there. Came back. Coach Moss said he was leaving. He was stepping away for health problems. Cornelius was going to be the coach, and he told us he only runs the option. Barrett might pass the ball twice a year playing for him, and Barrett said he passes and runs. So, and he never goes under center. He's too big. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. Right. You don't want him under center, especially when you don't have a line to block for him.
Right.
You know, because he's just going to get annihilated. So I said, this ain't going to work. So I hated to do it, but I called Chris Gamble over in Fairview, and I told him, I said, hey, we need to see about moving him. Is it possible? And he says, well, you need to get with let me make some phone calls. So he called the Board of Education. He talked to Barnett. He said, well, if Holly Pond's principal agrees to let him go and you agree to take him, then take him. But as far as sports goes, he'll be penalized. He'll only be eligible for JV his first year, which worked out great. We had a meeting with Coach Reddy, super nice guy.
Yeah.
Love him to death. And he could care less about winning games. He cares more about how your kids act and grow up as human beings and have manners and discipline and respect than he does about winning.
That's what it all boils down to.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of person.
And Barrett loves him. You know, he's a super guy. His parents are super people. His whole family is. You know, and Barrett and him just clicked. And I mean, I always hated Fairview growing up. I told myself, I hated going to football games or basketball games over. And now I find myself wearing a Fairview hat. I got a Fairview hoodie.
Same boat, yeah.
You know, and my son goes there, and you know they welcomed us with open arms. You know, and they do nothing but nice to us. And
I love
everything.
Fairview.
A couple people were mad because we were coming over there, and you know, anytime somebody comes in, if they're better, they're going to start over
Oh,
you,
yeah, they
and
are.
their kid gets pushed out of the way, and that's the worst part about it. And Barry feels bad about it. He said, "Well, before I came, so and so." But you know what? They need to get better. That's the way I look.
That's right, yeah.
You know, and Coach Redding's fair about it. He says he's going to play the best 11. That's what he does. But Holly Pond,
And it showed last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they were.
the last 2 years,
remarkable.
and I think we'll be
I mean,
better this year than we were the last 2 years.
I mean, it was like I mean, watching them was almost like a college team.
And we got
you
Frost
know?
back again next year.
Yeah.
He'll be a senior.
God, that
Yeah.
broke my heart.
Jameson
man.
Goble
His
back.
arm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, man.
he's a tough kid. though.
He is. He was
doesn't
standing
quit.
over there. And,
None of them kids quit last year. That's the thing. They just kept fighting and fighting. They bought into what George was selling, and that's what it takes, you know.
right.
And the baseball team, now their football team's doing good. The baseball team got a good coach. They're doing good. Basketball did good. Softball's starting to turn around now. Soccer teams even turn around. And I mean, when you got one sport that starts doing good, people want to bring their kids there.
Right, yeah.
And that's what it takes. We don't have the best facilities, but the new baseball coach, Coach Dumas, he's turned that place into a palace over there. They're doing so much, building new stands, new field houses for the baseball. I mean, everything's starting to click together now, and it's at the right time too. But yeah, when we moved him, it wasn't nothing against Holly Pond. Just, you know, it's like everybody said, don't know many college scouts says, hey, let's go down and watch that 2A team play.
Right, yeah.
Holly Pond. It don't happen.
And with Holly Pond, it was always like it with me, whenever I played, even back 2002, we had probably 7 people that were over 6 feet tall
Mm-hmm.
playing basketball. And then our football team, we had maybe, I would say 3 that was over 6 foot tall. I mean, it was just, that's the way it was. But I mean, they pushed the basketball and they were good. I mean, you know, the whole.
It come in spurts for Holly Pond.
Yeah.
They'd have 3 or 4 good years, and then they'd have a slump, then they'd have 3 or 4. This last year, they did really well in basketball.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when I seen them. I'm like, man, they just don't have any good athletes. First couple times I seen them, then I found myself, well, I live a mile and a half from the school. My son has to pass Holly Pond every day to go to Fairview. So we just go up there. If he's not playing in a football or baseball game, we'll go up to Holly Pond and watch their games. You know, I still got a lot, Heath Albright, I still got a lot of friends up there. So I go sit with him, your dad, you know, he's the best one sitting, you make fun of him. He don't even know you make fun of him half the time. Yeah, he can't hear you. And then Adam comes in and Matt, he don't say anything. It's basically make fun of Gibbs when you go to games up there. You just pick one of them and start making fun. Yeah.
Hey, and they think you didn't like them if you didn't.
Oh yeah. Your dad be like, I didn't see you at the game. I sat right behind you. You didn't say nothing. I didn't want to talk to you, you know.
I got an old fellow that comes in the door shop all the time, Elmer. And if he ain't cussing me or aggravating me, hell, I think me and him weren't friends anymore. You know what I mean? He say, you know, you're a good old boy. I'm like, yeah, I guess say all that. I'd rather you just give me hell and go on out the door.
If I'm having a bad day, I'll go to your dad's farm equipment place there and just walk in and sit and just look at him for a few minutes. Hey, my day's great, you know. I look at him and I think, man, I've got the best life in the world, you know. But I mean, moving back here, we were gonna stay there. My wife retired civil service after 30 years, and I had been retired and I had a landscaping business. I started just to have something to do, a little extra cash, money basically.
Yeah, fun.
Started out with like 10 yards, then it got it to be 20, then 30, then 40, then 50. And I was doing it myself. I was doing like 8 yards a day, 5 days a week. Never worked a weekend. And I did this for 10 years. I told my customers I don't work on the weekend. I wasn't gonna do it. And I paid the price for it because if it rained on Thursday and Friday and I couldn't mow, I'd have to do like 12 yards on Monday and Tuesday and the grass would be this high. but I'll refuse to work a weekend. But
My yard's knee deep right now.
Yeah.
The weeds, man, these weeds have come out. I was hoping to God that frost the other day was gonna get them, but I don't think it did.
see, I put a bunch of winter rye out, and it just went crazy. I mowed it once already, and that was a mistake. It came
Oh, yeah.
out like 3 times as
So it's
big.
glowing out there.
Oh,
now.
yeah. I can't get anybody to haul me dirt. Your brother, I can't get him to haul me any dirt or nothing. And he gives me this guy, Corey Gibbs number, and I can't get him to call me back. So,
Corey's in the,
he's a lawnmower man.
Yeah, he's a lawnmower man.
Yeah.
You have to go see him and get your lawnmower repaired. I'm gonna charge him $25 just for running this Randy's small engine out there in
Yeah.
Berlin.
And his name's Corey, right? And he runs Randy's small engine. That tells you there. He fell off the inbred tree real early, didn't he? He's probably gonna listen and say, "This guy, I don't know him." 'Cause I've never met him before ever.
I've got several Ava listeners, so I imagine he's probably one of them.
You think he's listening?
Yeah, maybe. He might tune in. Talk about when me and you talking about small towns and all that. I gotta get into this. It's been like Bayleton. And you don't have to say anything. I'll do all the talking for you.
You talking about the seniors?
Yes, the senior center.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was on CNN. I could be mistaken.
It's
They were
been
wanting the
all
mayor
over.
to go work with Biden because
He could, yeah.
he doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think, but I don't think he's gonna be there much longer.
No, the Biden administration has moved straight into Bayleton.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I mean, okay, so I got a lot of listeners Texas, a lot of these play Illinois. Where I'm from is Bayleton, which is a little small town in Coleman. I'd say we're probably
309.
Yeah, it's not very many. I'd say 400
Yeah.
people at the most. It's just a dot on a map, really. And our mayor has actually went through far enough to like kick the seniors out of the senior center. And you heard that right. If you're sitting in the back, he has figured out a way to get the seniors out of the senior center. That is the most craziest thing I've ever heard of in my life. I mean, you know, it's like me and you was talking. You being a veteran, you have seniors and veterans. In my opinion, that should be some of the highest people there is. Without your veterans, you have, I mean, I would have to get permission to run the show probably.
Is that what you called for earlier today?
Yeah. But you know, it's like, you know, if we were in Jack's, like I was talking about
Use
earlier.
Lowe's, because Lowe's gives a military discount.
Do they? Okay. So we was at Lowe's, even though it's my dad-in-law's contender.
Okay, say we're at Walker.
Okay.
They don't, but they will
They
after
would.
this podcast. I get a 10%
Yeah,
discount.
well, but, yeah, you can talk to Terry Walker. He'll give you a good deal. But honestly, like that would be basically the mayor saying, if we're gonna rent, well, it's so hard to even explain really because it don't make sense. But the senior center was actually granted to the seniors back in like 2009. And the mayor has found some kind of loophole to be able to make it to where he's able to charge them monthly, but there's no minimum. So you could charge these seniors $1 a month if you wanted to, and you could rent out on the weekend for whatever you wanted. And that's where my problem comes in, because if you can rent it for $200 on Saturday and Sunday to a wedding shower or whatever, and I'm okay with that. If I was going to try to rent it, I'd be okay with paying $200. I would never look back at my seniors and say, hey, they're only having to pay $1. You know what I mean? It's like, but even like me and you were talking about, like some of these restaurants, you know, fast food places, Lowe's, a lot of these places do military discounts, senior discounts. If I was standing in line at Jack's in Holly Pond, and you was in front of me, and a senior was in front of me, and you paid 40 cents for your coffee, and the senior paid 40 cents for his coffee, and I had to pay $1.25, you wouldn't hear shit out of me. You know what I mean? It's like, these people, you know, we wouldn't even be able to stand in this restaurant if it wasn't for our veterans, you know? I mean, we would be...
Well, you wouldn't have a senior center if it wasn't for your seniors. You wouldn't have this
Right.
town if it wasn't for your
Right.
seniors.
I mean, these are the people that have made the foundation. This is the glue, you know, and that's what I've told people. I'm like, you know, you can go to the churches and all this kind of stuff, and I mean, the seniors are the people who are like, how's your family? How's your mama? I mean, these are the people that really like, they care for you. You know what I mean? It's like, and to turn your backs on them like this is really absurd. I mean, it's crazy.
They didn't just push them off a cliff. They loaded them on their bus and drove them off the cliff.
Yeah, I mean, they were basically
And their
like,
hands are tied. To me, I don't have a dog in the fight because I live in Holly Pond, and when I get old, I'll probably go to their senior center
right,
if they
yeah.
have one.
Well, Holly,
But-
you know, they're one of the good guys.
Yeah,
you know?
but this, to me, it just seems like it comes down to greed. We can make money off this,
Right.
but they're really not gonna make money off of it because if it's a senior center, I think it's a nonprofit probably.
Right.
If they go to renting it, then it's gonna have to be a profit.
Right.
So
yeah.
the people that's gonna pay for it's gonna be the seniors and everybody else that lives here, cause you gotta pay for it somehow, the insurance, the rent on the building, electric. So what's the main thing they always do? We gotta raise our taxes, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's how they pay for it, but if I'm a guessing man or a bet man, I bet that's how it's gonna be.
yeah.
But
it's
I don't understand, they use it one day a week, ain't it one day a week?
one day on Thursday,
Yeah.
for like 4 hours, and I mean, really, you know, that these folks have just got to go back to this from COVID.
Right. He held it closed longer than
Right.
he should have after
Right.
COVID.
And you got over COVID. A lot of these people, that's going to a buddy's house on Friday night. That's going to hang out. You know what I mean? It's like,
These people don't have anybody else. That's where they meet their friends. That's
Right,
their
yeah, I
out
mean,
for the week. You know,
right,
that's their go out instead of sit at home and just be bored and depressed and heartbroken and read about their friend dying in the paper.
Right.
That's where they go to grieve with their friends, everything else. I mean, it's an atrocity that it happened like that. But I from everything I've read, it seems like he got his feelings hurt, and because when he was a member of it and he was going in there and everything,
Oh, yeah.
it was fine. But
Mhm.
now all of a sudden he found out it's illegal and they got to stop doing it. But like you said, charge the seniors $1, and I don't think the other 389 people in
No.
Bayleton are going to say anything about him charging them $1.
no. This place up here, April the 3rd, at the
Oh, it's
town
gonna be
hall
lit.
meeting. Oh man, it's gonna look like Chick-fil-A at lunch if they're
Oh, yeah.
doing $1 menu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be.
I
It's gonna,
actually know some food truck people, and I was going to have them set their food trucks up because they could probably make a fortune with all the
oh,
people
I
that's going to be there.
guarantee you, man.
You know?
But you know, like the sheriff stepped in, a lot of people say every community center or senior center around has offered them somewhere. You know, Ron Faust offered them out at Stonebridge and this kind of stuff.
And
it's
that's
like,
some good eating there. I mean,
yeah, it is. I love Ledger.
Did you hear that, Ron?
Yeah. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I've been really like mind blown about this. And, I mean, it just goes to show you really quickly, like changing mayors when they come around, they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this and do that, and hey, you know, it's gonna be us. We're gonna make this great, and this will be nice or whatever. A lot of times you need to look at what you have to begin with. Hey, a lot
Why
of
do
people
you
don't
have
like,
it to begin with?
right, you know, Donald Trump, a lot of people's like, oh man, he's an ass, you know, this and that. It's like, my God, milk was $2 a gallon, fuel was $1.40. You know, it's like, what do you want to change? We're in good cahoots with everybody. You know, we don't have to worry about a war. We don't have to worry about China and Russia meeting up, and you know, man, I don't know, it's nuts to me, man. I haven't been able to shake it.
I just don't understand. I don't understand why. And it's an easy fix, like you said. We're going to charge the seniors a set rate. Charge them $10. $10.
$10 a month.
And I'm sure somebody will go pay that. I know people
I
who
would.
volunteered to pay
Yeah.
their fee of $200 for the year. You know, I've heard people say they'd do it, you know. And I look back and I look at the council members, and like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight, and I got friends in Bayleton, and I probably know some of the council members or their kids. I don't really know who all of them are. But, you know, from what I've heard, they're all kin to each other or they're relatives or
Oh,
something.
yeah, they're all
There's no
buddies.
females on the committee at all,
Mm-mm.
which I think they should, because you need somebody on there to make fun of every once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You
Yeah.
got, but you know,
You need a female. You know, like me and you was talking about. Females are more quick to be like, mm-mm.
to tell it how it is.
Right,
You
yeah,
know,
it's
where the
like,
guy says, well, I don't want to make him mad. You know, me and him are buddy. He gives me a deal on
That's my
hay.
brother-in-law.
Yeah,
You know,
That's my brother-in-law. I got to look at him every week. You know, at Sunday dinner. But you know, it needs to be more diversified and put a couple for every guy on there. There should be a female on there, and I think it should be younger people.
I do too. I think it needs to be a good mixture.
Yeah, I think they need to just wipe the whole slate clean. And I'm sure there is some good people on there. But the problem is some good people ain't stepping up
Right.
because they're just going with the flow and they're going with what's
Right.
the guys telling them to do.
I know there's
If you
two-
had an election day, I bet you'd have a new mayor.
Oh
tomorrow.
yeah. Yeah, he couldn't.
Hell, I'd run if I could, but I don't live in those.
He could.
I can't run in Holly Pond Road because I don't live in the city limits. And they said, you gotta live in the city limits, so.
People have stepped up. They're fixing to make. I mean, I've seen where they're selling T-shirts and.
Oh, yeah,
it's-
Scalia down here.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be.
That's
a
my
good thing.
insurance lady, by the way.
Is it Clea?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Clea.
She saves me money. She ain't got a little lizard that talks for her, but
Yeah.
Ezra, the mullet kid,
Yes.
he talks for her.
Hey, that kid too's got a sweet mullet. I
Yeah,
need
he
to
does.
pick
I've been
up
trying to
that
get mine
puts-
out like that.
Me too, man.
It won't work.
It takes forever to grow hair. If I was trying to keep my hair like short and nice and all that, it'd be growing out tomorrow, you know?
Well, I let Kim Chambers cut mine because I can't find nobody else to cut it. She does the best she can, but she struggles. I mean, she can't cut hair. She tries,
Her
but
husband cannot catch a fish. either.
no.
Are you ready for that code word to pee yet?
Yeah.
So, going back to the military, what was some of the worst, what was the worst thing you had to do?
Probably the worst thing I had to do, when we were in Desert Storm and stuff, and I had troops that worked for me. And when one of them got killed, I had to escort his body back to Michigan to his parents, and I had to do that on 4 separate occasions.
Oh, wow.
And the hardest part, when they have the viewing, you escort the body back, you gotta wear your service dress, uniform. You can't let the casket leave your sight. From the time they load it at the base we're at, and Guam was the first one I did, had a troop get killed and escorted the body back. And you gotta stay with it. You gotta go down the cargo area when you change planes and watch them put it from this plane to this plane. You can't let it leave your sight. And the best thing to get set first class. They always put you first class,
Yeah.
You get there and you have to wait on everybody to get off plane. You're the last one to get off. And then you have to go down the steps and onto the tarmac and watch them load into the funeral home van. Then you got to ride in the car
So you
with them
basically all the way to the parlor.
all the way. And then you
Yeah.
get to the parlor and they'll put their uniform on them. And then you have to go down into the morgue and straighten up their ribbons and their name tag on their body. They'll dress them and put them in the casket, and you got to do all that. And you got a picture. And most of the time, their hair was already fixed.
Yeah.
When they were putting the casket in Guam by either their wife or a family member or something. But you go to the funeral, and I had to stand by the casket for the whole viewing. Anytime the body was being viewed, and I'm not saying it to bash them, but black people had to take a black kid home to Michigan, and they viewed the body for like 7 days.
Really?
And for 7 days, I was in the airport, motel, hotel, and I had to be there. And they would have viewings from like 9 in the morning till 2, and then again from 5 until 9 at night. And you have to stand, because every time grandma or mom or cousins come and hug the body, it messes up their ribbons. You got to go back after they leave the casket and straighten them up. But the hardest part, I think, I knew the guy. I was friends with him. I met his parents, the one in Guam. And I'd met his parents before and got close to them. They'd been to my house for barbecues and stuff. And at the funeral, they do the 21 gun salute.
Yeah. Trumpets and stuff.
Yeah, and then they fold the flag and they hand it to me, and I have to walk over and hand it to the mother of the wife and say, on behalf of the grateful nation and the President of the United States, I present you with this flag. And I mean, that's hard because Taps is playing when they're doing that. And you got to hand it to them. And it's harder when you know them. But everyone I escorted back, I knew them. But that one was especially hard because his parents had come over to visit him a couple months prior. We went out to dinner with them and stuff, And his wife looks up at me and says, I don't blame you. It's not your fault. But, inside your mind, it is your fault because you was responsible for him. But,
Right.
I mean, to hear her say that, it means a lot to you. But in the back of your mind, you still,
Oh, yeah.
you still feel responsible for it, But that was probably the worst thing I ever had to do, was probably that. And like I said, I did it 4 separate times. And, I mean, it didn't get easier any time,
No,
I mean,
I guarantee
it's
you.
one thing to pick up body parts from a Humvee that got hit, and stuff like that never bothered me because I always looked at it as a job.
Right.
And I had some of my female troops, they tell me, you've got to be the coldest individual I ever met. You were the most heartless person, because that didn't bother me. Because I knew that could have been me there. And I knew when I signed up what I was signed up for.
Right.
But all these people, I didn't sign up for it. Well, yeah, you did. But that stuff, I blocked it out with it. It never really bothered me,
Yeah.
But that was probably the worst thing I ever had to do.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, man. That's why people are cut out for it. You know what I mean? Like even nursing home people.
Oh,
You know, stuff. It's like, you're gonna get attached to people, and you're gonna see people go and stuff. And then yeah, that would be a hard part of the job. I know it would be. Yeah, especially people. A lot of these guys are young, and a lot of people.
He was 21.
21, get in the military young, and yeah, I mean it is. It's sad, man. But so only some give all and all give some.
Yeah. I mean, some people, like I said, it's not for everybody, and the ones it's not for. They do their 4 years, they get out.
Right.
And then the ones, they call, oh, you're a lifer. Well, yeah, I am. I enjoyed it.
Right.
I wouldn't change a single thing from the day I signed up to, and like I said, I missed a lot of stuff: graduations, weddings, kids being born, funerals, everything. Birthdays. But if I had to do over, I wouldn't change a single thing.
Right.
And I would have stayed in longer. If I could have, I'd have stayed in probably another 4 years. I really would have. I mean, I liked it that much. And like I said, some people like it. Some people just do it for a paycheck. And then when they get called on to go to deploy, oh, you hear every excuse. Oh, my wife's supposed to have a baby. I can't go. I need to be here. And I was that type of guy. Say, well, let me stay here. I'll go.
Yeah.
I like doing that. And I was penalized for it as far as my family went because I missed out on stuff. But somebody had to do. That was always my philosophy. If not me, then who's going to do it?
Right.
And I would look at my younger troops and say, it's your turn. You need to go. Well, I really don't want to go over. I don't. And some people will go over and get in trouble over it just so they get sent home. I mean, it's not for everybody. And I can generally tell, talking to a kid, a teenager. I've talked to several since I've been out, and they say, well, I was thinking about going in the military. And like I said, if I know them, I'll tell them, well, you probably don't. That's probably not for you.
Right. Yeah.
You can tell. Or their parents, so you figure what kind of kid that is. So you can prove nothing against their parents, but that kid's not going to be cut out for that. They don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
But that's just about every kid in this generation. They think everybody owes them something, so that's what makes it harder on them.
I'm afraid for, like, tough people nowadays. They're almost non-existent besides the older generation. I feel like, because I can go out, even my son, and even try to like practice t-ball with him in the yard, and what's too hot. It's this, it's that. And not being mean or anything, but I remember like as kids, we were always outside and we were tougher.
They would call you when it was time to eat.
Yeah, that's right.
Now the parents pick up the cell phone and call upstairs to the bedroom and say, hey, come down and eat.
Oh yeah, put your video.
It wasn't an option for us. When we got done at school, I'd come home, feed the cows. 4:35, I was done. I'd do my homework if I had any, and then I was outside riding bikes, motorcycles, doing something, piddling on my car, my truck. And now they come home from school. If they're not playing sports, they come home from school and they're Xboxing it all night.
Oh yeah.
If they practice games, they come home, then they're too tired. I know Barrett is usually too tired to do anything by the time he gets home from baseball. But they start practicing baseball at like 8th period, which is like 2:10, and he don't get home till 7.
Right.
And that's every day. If there's not a game, they're practicing 3-4 hours.
We're in the. I don't want to. I guess the best way to say it is we're in like the boring years. Like if you don't have a kid, some kind of entertainment, they're bored. And it's like I'm bored. I remember me and Matt and Adam, fighting with sticks or.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we're gonna go.
Magnolia, Cold, throwing grenades, pop the top.
We're gonna go play. We're gonna go play in the yard. It's like, it was nowadays. If almost a kid ain't got like a phone or a tablet or something, hell, they're bored. It's like we never had that. I remember when it rained, we played Nintendo, but you didn't play Nintendo when it was sunny and nice outside. But we wanted to be out there. It wasn't like your parents were like, "Hey, get your ass outside."
Oh yeah.
we wanted. You wanted to play. That's right.
When that porch light blink, you better be home because it's time for supper. And now they don't even turn the porch light on. They walk by. I watch a lot of these kids that's not involved. Me and my wife's been blessed. Our son, he's an all-around athlete. He can do anything. He's very coachable and stuff. And I don't like bragging on him because I let him do all that on the field. He shows his worth on the field, you know, but we've been blessed. I mean, he is a good athlete. He didn't get it from me, he got it from his mom. But, you know, I was just telling her the other day, I don't know what the hell we're gonna do when he graduates and goes off to college or whatever. We're gonna be bored. We're gonna be sitting there staring at each other, you know. We'll be like these old people. We'll be going to Holly Pond Cafe and drinking coffee and eating supper at 5 o'clock, be in bed by 7, you know.
Stay up there all day.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do then. Well, we'll probably, hopefully he'll go on a baseball scholarship to somewhere, and we're gonna buy us one of them smaller motorhomes, and we're just gonna travel around, load the dog and the cat up and travel, you know, but that's our plan now. And if that don't happen, then I guess we'll just sit there and stare at each other, you know, watch Jeopardy and stuff. And, I don't know, call your dad up, make fun of him or something. I don't know, we'll do something. But, I mean, it's scary times right now because a lot of these kids don't even have a purpose. I mean, you see them and they go to school because their parents make them. They get home from school and they sit around and do nothing. That wasn't an option for me growing up. My dad would pull up a piece of garden hose and start wearing us out, and we didn't go load that hay and put it in the barn or get them cows and put tags in their ears or something. These kids today, they don't know that because parents, and me and my wife would get to it too. We don't make Barrett do hardly any chores at all because we do everything for him, you know. And I guess it's because he's the last one in the nest, you know. And, you know, we made a deal with him. A lot of his friends, they work. They'll go to practice and they'll get off and they'll work to have money and stuff. And, you know, we made a deal with him a couple of years back. You do good in school and you're always active in sports and stuff, you're not gonna have to get a job. We'll take care of that stuff. But you're gonna be doing something all the time. You know, he's like, well, I don't think, you know, the basketball coach over there wants him to play basketball, and he don't want to play basketball. He's good at it, but he don't want to play it. They about got him talking into it, but, you know, and my wife's like, well, you're gonna play at least 2 sports. You're not just gonna sit around. If you're gonna do that, you can go get a job, you know. So, you know, but we've always told him, if we'll take care of the monetary stuff, you just do your part, you know, and because that's a lot on the kid, was not just with school, but with sports, because the practices are so long and everything. And my hat's off to some of these people, you know. Some of these guys play football and they'll get done with practice at 5:30 and they go to work O'Reilly's or S&S, or they go bag groceries, they go do something, they work, you know. And I guess he just got it lucky, but I don't know. But we're at a point in our life, we're both retired, and, you know, we built that new house last year, and we've got everything. You know, I always say if I won the lottery, if I won 10 million, I'd give 9 million to St. Jude's, you know. I'd write a check. And, because, you know, I know people that's got a lot of money and they're not happy, you know. They may think they're happy, but they're not. You know, they're always worried about somebody's trying to take their money, or I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be one of those guys. I'm happy with what I got. Debt free, roof over my head, good kid in school. I mean,
that's good as it gets.
Yeah, and I mean, if you say you win $2 million, what are you gonna do? You gonna go out? Most people go out and buy a new car or build a new house. I don't need a new house. I don't need a car. My cars are paid for. I don't have a car payment. I'm happy. You know.
I would find a home for this new dog we have.
Well, I buy the senior center over here and they give it back to the people because obviously they want money for it. So that's probably what I do. The Baileyton Senior Center, I name it after Johnny Dyer and say the Johnny Dyer Senior Center, you know. I just feel sorry for the people that, back to that, I hate to be
I know,
dead,
it's okay. It's not being a dead horse because it's too new.
I mean,
you know, and it's really real life is going on.
But I think
it sucks.
When that meeting shows up, and I'm sure there'll be police presence there, there'll have to be. Because it'll probably get ugly. I'm not saying it will, but if I'm a betting man, which I'm not really, but I was in Vegas for 6 years. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff said. People's feelings are going to get hurt. Somebody's going to smart off to somebody, and it's going to turn ugly. And I would hope that the sheriff would have people out there. I'm sure he will. Knowing Matt's a good guy. I'm sure he'll have people there.
Matt, I've always said this about Gentry. Matt Gentry could run against Andy Griffith and beat him.
Yeah. I could probably beat him if I ran against him. I'm you for Buster type of guy. You know, I'd just get a stick. I wouldn't get a gun. I'd pick on people. But you know, it's always been my thing. I hate drugs. I hate them to the fullest extent. And I just feel like, I know they do a lot, but there's so much more I feel like they could do, you know. And a lot of cops, and you know a lot of cops, I know a lot of cops, a lot of them know where the drugs are. You know, they just don't, and you can't blame because there's crazies out there. You know, I'm not going to go up this double wide trailer and knock on the door at 9 o'clock at night because you're probably going to get shot at. because
Right.
the product drugs going down. But I mean, they do what they can, and I think they do a fairly good job. I hear people complain all the time that he's not a good sheriff and everything else, and he's a baby kisser and all this, but that's part of the job.
Right. Yeah.
But if you look at the stats, you'll see he gets the job done. If he didn't, he wouldn't keep getting reelected.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. They can't find anybody to run against him.
No.
No. And I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'd put him on my ticket. You know.
I mean, I like the guy. I talk to him at the cafe a lot, and I mean, he seems like a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, I think he's for the people, and with him stepping up to this senior thing too, you know, because tomorrow, I shouldn't say tomorrow because that's when this podcast will be. Today, when this podcast airs, it will be.
He's feeding them, right?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you had Gentry step to him. It's like, hey, I think he comes every third Thursday or something and eats with them and whatnot. And he's like, hey, look, we'll go over here and do this, you know. I mean, yeah.
If it wasn't for them having to drive to places, I mean, they've got so many options. I mean, if I'm a senior, I'm going out to Sophia's and let Ron Faust feed me. You know what I'm saying? He said, we'll even feed you too if you don't want to cook. Well, hey, guess what? I'm going out to Ledger's and we're going to eat a steak,
That's
you know?
right, yeah.
And, you know, things like that. And they've got the Fairviews, invite them, Antioch down the roads, invite them. I mean, they've got enough
Brooklyn
food.
Community Centers
Yeah.
invited them.
I think Holly Pond's even invited
Yeah,
them.
Holly Pond. Holly Pond's some good folks. I had a few folks to reach out to me from Holly Pond. That's where I'm from. It's kind of funny because some of them was my teachers and whatnot at school, and you know they're like, I really think this is a fight worth fighting for. You know what I mean? And I don't, you know, I've had several people come up to me about being mayor, but I couldn't put the time into it. And I mean, you really need to treat that like a full-time job. I mean, you do. But I mean, like a lot of these people that I knew from Hollywood and stuff are like, well, he's changed a lot from being a little jerk in school. You know,
Adam said you still a jerk. Him and Matt said you still a jerk.
They're mad because I'm the best looking one out of all of us. And
You was the favorite too, I think they said.
no, Matt's always been a favorite.
No, I heard you.
No,
I heard you was the favorite.
Matt, Mom and them would give him like a 10 out of 10. Me and Adam would probably be tied for like a 4.5, probably.
Because Matt was always the quiet one. That's what you gotta look out for.
Yeah,
the quiet ones.
ones. We were talking about flying planes and stuff. This is so funny. Every year, 4th of July, we go to the lake. Well, the neighbor has a airplane, one that lands on water. Every year I keep threatening. I'm like, one of these days, I'm gonna get out here having a little bit too much fun. And if the key's in that thing, I'm going up in it. But I ain't gonna find anybody riding me yet.
Well,
You know, it lands on water, it can't be that dangerous. You know?
You'll think this is crazy. I was in the Air Force for almost 25 years, and I hate flying. I hate flying with a passion.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, and when I had to go to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, to Turkey, to Iraq, you're talking 27 hours straight on a plane.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you look out the window and all you see is clouds and occasional water, you know, and you get off and you got swamp butt, you know, you've been sitting in that same seat. You can only get up and walk around on a plane so much, unless it was a 747. But let me tell you, the worst ride you'll ever have is riding on a cargo C-130 and them little parachute jump seats for 19 hours. And you get up and you got them little straps on your back. You look like an apple pie for like
God.
3 days when you look in the mirror from where them straps are. And you can't sleep in them. And you got just pallets of cargo in front of you. And it may be a jet engine in front of you and you've got your feet propped up on it, you know, and just everything's like this. I'll never forget, we were landing in UAE. We were on a C-130 cargo plane, one of the small ones,
Yeah.
propeller job. We were 2 miles out and we heard a loud boom, and I looked out the window and just like smoke boiling off the motor. And the pilot comes across and he goes, well, the good news is we still got one engine left. The bad news is we're about 2.5 miles out and we're hoping that one good engine is good enough to get us there. And the plane's like cockeyed, you know, and we're going in for a landing, and you can just feel the force. It's like you could feel the pilot trying to hold that thing
Right,
straight.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, like if you had a blown out tire or
yeah,
something.
and we hit the deck. And, you know, every time, the worst part for me about flying was taking off and landing. Once I get in the air, I was okay. You had no choice, but I hated landing and I hated taking off. But that right there, you know, in helicopters, the world's worst. I hated helicopters.
See, my mother-in-law rode one around the Grand Canyon. She said never again. She
I rode
actually
one around
made a
Death
promise
Valley.
to God. Like, if you hit me down here, I will not ever go back up in a helicopter.
When I was stationed in Las Vegas, we worked with the DEA. Me and two of my friends had to go to refuel their helicopters, and they had 2 Apaches, 2 Cobras, and 2 Hueys. And the DEA worked with the park rangers of California. We were in Death Valley, and there's a little hotel out there in the middle of nowhere. You drive for 2 hours, and you go over this little hill, and there's a hotel. With a restaurant and a little 7-Eleven across the street from. That's it. That's Death Valley National Park. And we stayed in a hotel. We couldn't even drink the water there. There were signs there, do not drink the water. It had a lot of mercury in it. You had big old gallon jugs, a bottle of water in there. You could shower in it, but it said when you got in the shower, it said do not ingest this water through your nose. Whatever. I mean, it was just bad water.
Stagnant or just?
No, just it had so much mercury in it, so many minerals. But every morning, them helicopters, the Marines would fly around, and that was our cue to come down, and they'd land and we'd refuel them. One day they asked if we wanted to go out with them, right? Because they were looking for meth labs. What would happen is them meth heads would build their labs in the old abandoned mine shafts in the middle of the desert. They would use the rail tracks for them little rail cars as steps to go down in the mine, and instead of a meth lab. Somebody would drop them off in the middle of the night. They'd go down the hole and they'd lay a piece of plywood over it and cover it up with sand and put a cactus on it and some weeds so the DEA couldn't see it when they're flying over it. It just looked like desert. Well, we would go and they had sonar and heat-seeking things on their thing, and the Apaches would fly over real slow across the desert, and they would see figures underground working, you know. So they would give the coordinates to the guys in the Hueys, and that day they told us we'd go with them. And the guy tells us, he said, hey, when we get out of the chopper, we'll go and take care, we'll get the bad guys out, and we'll let y'all come down and see what we're doing out here.
Yeah.
He said, but when you're walking, don't pick up anything. They put booby traps out here. Don't pick up any kind of metal pipes or anything because it could be a bomb. We're like, okay. Well, they go, they flip this plywood up and they go down with their AR-15s and everything. They come out, 6, 7 guys in zip ties. They come out with a Glad garbage bag full of pills and meth put out in motion for us. We're walking toward it. We're about 50 yards from right. There's a piece of white PVC pipe laying there. Had a cap on both ends. I picked it up and said, what is it? The guy said, don't move. He comes over and he takes it, and it was a pipe bomb. The dad said, he set it down right there. He said, I'll show you why I told you not to pick anything up when we get ready to leave. I said, okay. Well, we go down there, and there's a mine shaft, and there's probably 100 empty 55-gallon drums down this mine shaft. There's just millions of prescription pill bottles all stacked up across the wall. They were empty because they got everything in it. And they rake all that stuff in that mine shaft. And they take C4 and they dropped it down in that mine shaft.
Yeah.
And we crawled back out. They put the plywood back over. We got in the chopper. Well, he takes that little thing I picked up and he's holding it with one of them things you pick trash up with.
Yeah.
Out the door of the helicopter. We get up about 50 feet there and he drops it. It hits the ground and just explodes.
My gosh.
But the fun part about it was he's sitting there with that trigger for that C4 device. It was like a Claymore mine, like you stick with.
Yeah.
He mashed that button. He could wait for it, and then all of a sudden, the helicopter kind of moved, and the whole desert floor just like waved like this, and that plywood come blowing up. And then
So y'all like blew
they
it
landed,
up
he
too.
blew it up and caved it in. And
Wow.
one of the guys from EOD gets out and goes over and looks, and it's all filled up with dirt and everything. So we go the next, and they take the bad guys, put them in a van, drive them off. But it was crazy. I mean, and they did that.
Yeah.
We did that for 5 days, and they probably arrested like 25 people. And the funny part about it was that Charles Manson's house out there,
Yeah.
where he had the tape on it, it was right there up the road, maybe 6, 7 miles from where our hotel was. And they took us up in the van and showed us the house. It was abandoned now, it's all run down. But they showed us where it was and everything. It's pretty cool.
Well, I bet that was, man. I'm so dumb on like drugs and stuff. I always imagine like a meth lab look like a chemistry lab. And some people I know, they were talking to me. They said, "Man," so we went in there and there was a meth lab. I'm like, what does it look like? You know, I'm imagining like this guy in like a white suit, you know, he's got the, like doctor pump, you know, like a doctor suit. And they're like, no, it's like a 2-liter Coke bottle and it's a
Hoses running
propane.
out of it. Little Coleman heater. Cook
That's
on
how
it.
dumb I am though on
Some
that.
toothless
You know?
Cajun guy cooking on it. Go,
They said, you've probably been around one. I'm like,
you probably
You know
ride by
what?
one all the time, don't even know it, you know?
Sure. I'm like, I probably have been. I would have just thought this guy really like was really clean because he's got like a lot of detergents and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
cleaning supplies.
But I mean, if you think about what they make that stuff out of, why would you want to put that in your body?
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Bleach, chlorine, formaldehyde.
They'll use that liquid fire.
Oh yeah.
That unstops drains.
Yeah. Drano's a big for meth.
Yeah.
And then
No.
they start putting that fentanyl in with it too, and that stuff will kill you if you touch it.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah.
It's just gotten so, and you was talking about earlier about being tough in school. You know, when we were in school, we had a problem. We went out in the parking lot after school and we settled it. Now
Oh,
they
yeah.
go out and get a gun or a knife and they come in and start shooting everybody.
Oh yeah.
It's just different. I was telling my son the other day, my 68 truck I had in high school, I still have it now. And I had a gun rack in the back window. And he said, you have that in there in school? And I said, yeah. And there was always a 410 and a 22 or a 30-06 sitting in it. And I'd leave my windows down in the school parking lot and nobody messed with anything. And now you bring a gun on school, you going to,
Oh yeah.
you
I
know,
don't even think you can be in the school line like as an adult with
Yeah,
a gun.
you're not supposed to.
You know what I mean? So yeah, times have changed majorly. The maturity level between kids a long time ago, and I mean, like, I would have never shooting somebody has never crossed my mind. Besides, if I ever like thought in my mind, you know, like played out.
What's crossed mine, but I had to do it.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm talking like, you know, as far as me, I would go through whatever depths I had to take care of my family. You know, and that would be, I would stick my neck out there. You know what I mean? Like just, but.
If somebody's beating in your front door, you're going to shoot them.
Hey, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not going to go,
Just do it.
you're not going to go up here to Super Ed at Fairview and somebody get mad.
Yeah.
You get mad at somebody because they pull in front of you a pump and get out and start cussing at them, screaming and shoot them.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And
I mean,
it happens.
Oh, yeah, it
all
happens.
the
I've
time.
almost done it several times. I have road rage. My wife says I have road rage, but she's the most impatient driver in the world. We'll be in town and a loud turn. Blow your horn. It just turned green. Dang, give the bulb time to heat up.
I drive like grandma.
I know. She says I'm a terrible driver.
Well, after traveling with the railroad for so long, I was driving to Terre Haute, Indiana. I think it's when it really hit me. It was like, I was driving 82 miles an hour the other day, just trying to get there. And it would take me like 20 more minutes if I drove like 74.
Oh.
So-
But you got to get there fast just so you can wait on whatever.
yeah,
you're
you know
going
what?
to
I
get.
got to think about it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to slow down.
You see these truck drivers say another day in the ATL, and they're backed up in traffic and everything. And then they say, 6 more hours, they're in Atlanta, 6 more hours, I'll be in home sweet Coleman. I'm thinking, you chose that profession.
Yeah.
And nothing against the truckers, because we
No,
do.
yeah, I love turkeys.
I just couldn't do that. I really couldn't. And I couldn't drive. It used to kill me living in Warner Robins. We're like an hour and 10 minutes from Atlanta. And every time I went to Atlanta, I hated it. 6 lane, 4 lane, 2 lane, 6 lane, 4
They could
I
have
hated
50 lane and it'd still be a traffic.
And there was
problem.
always that one place in Georgia, right around, I don't know, right about 10 miles outside Atlanta, where there was always a traffic jam. You stopped and you went 5 miles an hour for 10 miles. You get up there and there's no wreck or nothing. It's just people don't know how to drive.
No.
You know? And if there is a wreck, they're all looking. So it takes another 20 minutes. I just couldn't live in a big city. Coleman's getting just
Coleman is terrible because you got 157s tore up, 35 mile, and then.
But just the traffic alone through Coleman.
Oh man.
I remember as a kid we used to cruise the streets on Friday, Saturday nights.
We
We'd
used to.
start at
Food World.
Food World and go all the way down to where McDonald's is and turn it. There used to be a Bonanza down there.
Yeah. Burger King.
Yeah.
Make that turn. Yeah.
And when I was in school, King Edward was still there for a little while before they tore it down.
Okay.
It's where Buffalo Wild Wings is.
Yeah. That's King Edward Street still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'd turn around there and we'd go back to shopping center. Well, then the cops, after a while, at Food World, Roy Drinker and them ran us out of the shopping center. So we went to the parking deck. And everybody cruised the parking deck. You cruise around the bottom and you go up the top and cruise around. And that's how everybody met girls, guys,
Oh, yeah.
their friends, everything, and we all hung out. Nowadays, kids, they just go,
Play Fortnite.
they go to the movie or Buffalo Wild Wings, and then they go home, you know, or they go and hang out. You know, I'm lucky. My son, he's dating this girl. She goes to Holly Pond, he goes to Fairview. So where's that good for him? He ain't got to carry books and stuff like that. And it's a perfect relationship for him. And but no, she is a good girl. She can you, I think, somehow.
No, Lord.
Somehow.
My
Her
family.
stepmom's kin to you.
Okay, my family tree is like.
Yeah, your tree goes straight
up.
up. You need a parachute to go down your tree. Tree climbers wouldn't even help you. But, I mean, he'll go to her house and hang out, or she'll come to our house and hang out. And he has no desire to go to town and hang out with friends. They'll go eat and come right back home to her house or our house, which I'm fine with that because I know where he's at, you know. And now they got this Life 360 where I know where he's at all the time, how fast he's going. If they would have had that when I was growing up, I'd been in jail. I'd have been in juvie, you know. If we'd had cell phones when we were growing up,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure the statute of limitations has run out on everything I did in high school. I'm hoping. But if we'd had cell phones back in the day, it would have been over for a lot of us.
We hated cell phones. So those things came out. That was like somebody's phone would be ringing. You'd be like, "Who's that?" It's my mom.
Yeah.
It's like, don't no, hit that button. She'll know you like muted her or whatever, or block, stop the call. Yeah, it was.
You probably had them in high school, didn't you?
No, I was actually well. I guess I was probably 11th grade but now back when I had a cell phone, you had like, I think I had like 110 minutes a month or something. It wasn't much, but now the weekends were free. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday was free.
Friday from 7 till Sunday.
Yes, that's right.
It was free.
Yeah, you had that free, and if somebody had the same carrier as you, it was free. You could do the call. So I think at nights maybe or something. Yeah. No, those things were a way to keep up with you.
You'd meet somebody in town. When I was in school, you wanted to talk to them. If they weren't in town yet and you didn't see them cruising up and down the strip, pull up to a payphone. There was one where 278 forks off right there at East Point.
Yeah.
There was a Dairy Delight right there or something. They had a payphone on a post, and I could pull up my 68 and roll the window down and grab the receiver and dial number and roll my window back up. It was raining, and sit there and talk for hours, on the phone. And then you see them people drive by. Oh, okay, never mind, I found them. And you hang up and you go back to town. I mean, it's just crazy. But we never. I don't know. If you take the kid's cell phone away, my son does something, my son fix to take his cell phone away. Oh, they're angels,
Oh yeah.
I think they would literally. He's left his cell phone and couldn't find it and just tore the house apart. Call it, but he keeps it on silent. Most of these kids do. How you gonna find him? I'll call. I said, what good does it do call it? And they can put you on do not disturb. So I'll call him probably 3 or 4 times a week and it goes straight to voicemail. And I told my wife, I said, I fix to take that phone away. If he's not gonna have it on, I'm not gonna pay the bill for it.
Yeah, I don't.
He says, well, I have to put it on silent when I'm in school, and that's the worst thing too, If we'd had cameras in school, we'd be in trouble.
Oh,
hey,
yeah. I don't think
Mr. Hicks, I'd be in jail right now. People videoing stuff we did in ag.
See, with the cell phone, I never ever saw one in a classroom. But they were just boring. I mean, a phone, it rang, basically. You could shoot a text message, but hell, it'd take you 30 minutes to type out a message, because you had to hit each button. And
now you just type one letter in the word
Oh yeah, I can type you a paragraph in probably 20 seconds and have it sent as proofread and everything.
But I'm saying we survived without.
Oh, yeah,
these
we
kids
survived.
today don't know what it's like. If they had to use the phone, some of the funniest times of my life was staying with my great grandma because she had a party line. And I would pick it up because if somebody was using the phone, it would ring like, eh. One time at her house, I'd pick it up. Me and my brother would cover it up and we'd listen to these old ladies. They'd say, who's on the phone? Is somebody on the phone? I'm using it. And we'd sit there. I got my butt tore up so much from my grandpa for listening in on people's conversation. Party line. Nobody, my son's like, what's that? I bought him an old phone at a yard sale, a rotary phone.
Oh yeah.
With a dial. He's like, what? How do you do that? And I showed him. And we put it in his room where it actually worked in Georgia.
Yeah.
And he's like, I said, use your phone. I'm using that.
But it was that 9.
They're spoiled, man. Yeah, they're spoiled. You're sitting there, And if you had to dial 911, you're dead. You know, 'cause by the time you get, then you wait.
Well, see, that's what Adam, he used to always, every time I get on the phone with like a girl or whatever, I'd be talking to her, which when I'm like 7th grade, we're talking landlines, you know, and he would come in there and be like, oh, so you're the best kisser around, right? You know, it's like, shut up, dude. You know, he'd been there listening, you know, he's like,
Always listen.
oh my gosh, man. The home phone, there was nothing private whatsoever.
I could tell when somebody picked up because you could hear that little.
Yeah.
We had the most square phones. Had one in my bedroom. My parents had one in their bedroom, one in the living room, one in the kitchen. And my brother, they lived downstairs in the basement, and he had one. And I'd always, you'd hear like a crackling. And I'd say, who's on the phone? I'm on here. And they'd never hang up because you could hear when they hung up. So I'd go through the house. I'd say, hang on, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I'd go through the house every
Trying to
minute.
figure out who
And then I'd get downstairs and I'd hear him set it down, you know. By the time I got back upstairs, he'd already picked it up again. So I'd wait till he left before I called him because sometimes he'd sit there and he'd just moan on the phone. Stupid stuff, but yeah, they're spoiled nowadays. Cell phones, laptops, computers, even the typewriters now, they don't even use them. They use a laptop and just go to the printer. I remember typing and slapping the old arm back.
This computer right here is like, my cousin rebuilt it for me, but this thing is so outdated. I'm surprised it's even able to like keep up with the podcast. This is like redneck podcast.
I wonder what all these quarters. I'm gonna trip over.
This is one of those ones you gotta crank it. Like you gotta like turn the thing on it to get it to work. When me and you was talking about planes, I was talking about my buddy, Dusty Baker, a good friend of mine. He actually, he got his pilot's license. I guess he's been probably flying 3 or 4 years maybe. And in St. Petersburg, Florida, that's where they live at. I think that's right, don't quote unquote me, but his landing gear actually did not come down. Pretty fast.
Belly landed it?
Yeah, he did. It's pretty fascinating. He had like where they're running, you know, golly, I got the article somewhere. Let's see here. He was flying, and then he got an alarm. Let's see what the alarm was. It's a light came on with a gear down for landing. So he didn't.
Not what you want to see.
No, but he didn't know. He didn't know if his landing gear come down or not. Whenever you like press the button for it to come down or whatever, and
you can't just like lean over and look.
no. So he had to make a flyby by where he was supposed to be, you know, landing this thing, and of course they were like, no, it's not. Your landing gear's not down. So he tried to like troubleshoot it, and all this guy, he never could get it going again, you know. And he had to wait on like emergency personnel and stuff to like show up. Can you imagine how scary that would have been? My gosh. Especially I'd say he's been flying maybe like 40 years.
So he was really scared.
Yeah.
Is he still flying now?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
See, you know, he's a brave one, I'd say. You know, he's pretty he was in National Guard and stuff. But he's
a professional.
Yeah. So he actually landed this thing though. Yeah. A guy I used to live with landed a plane with no landing gear.
I'd like to see a video of that. I bet there was sparks flying everywhere.
I guarantee you.
And he's probably crying.
Oh my gosh, man.
Ain't like he's gonna jump out. That's why I don't like little planes, you know. A friend, David Robertson's got a plane.
Yes.
And everybody says, oh, you didn't go. He took me up. I took pictures of my property. And I knew David in high school. I'm not getting on a plane with David. And they said, if I was going to fly with anybody, everybody tells me, if I was going to fly with anybody, it'd be him. He's probably one of the best pilots around, you know, and I'm like, I just don't like propeller planes. I don't like them. I mean, helicopter is twice bad because if it quits, you're just dropping. A plane, you can glide because somebody told me David's landed planes that the engines went out several times. Just landed them, you know. I mean, that's good. I mean, but
David's a genius.
Oh, they say he is. They say everybody in the family can fly, you know. Yeah. But I don't, if I can drive, I'm going to drive, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I mean, when I got stationed in Vegas, I drove from my parents' house at Welty all the way to Las Vegas. I drove straight through, 21 hours, straight through. I didn't stop. Well, I stopped and got coffee and stuff.
Yeah.
I got about 2 miles this side of the Hoover Dam, and I said, well, I'm gonna pull over here on the side of the road and just take me a little nap before I drive the next 2.5 hours. I woke up, and all I hear, wow, semi-tractor trailer horns blowing at me. I'm in the median, sideways in the median. I thought I pulled over on the right hand in the emergency lane to take a nap. I pulled over in the median. It was only like 6 foot wide on the 4 lane. And these trucks are going by and just the wind. I was in a Nissan Sentra. And I was like, what happened? You know, I'm looking around. And I guess I just fell asleep and just coasted over there.
Oh, yeah.
They're all blowing the horn. I scared the crap out of me, you know. So I made it on into Vegas, and I said, I'm flying next time. No. My wife, we went on her honeymoon. She's flown maybe 3 times in her life. She hates to fly.
Yeah.
We went from Georgia, Atlanta to Vegas. It was like pulling teeth getting on the plane. Well, we get on the plane, everything's good. We take off, she just squeezed my hand. We get in there, everything's fine. We get about 6 miles outside of McCarran there in Vegas, and you hit all that smog and stuff, so it makes it.
Yeah.
We hit turbulence. They flipped on the fasten seatbelt. She was sitting by the window, and I was sitting here. She wanted to look out the window. She was squeezing my hand. She was cutting my circulation off. She was so scared. And we hit that turbulence, and all the above compartments fell down,
Oh,
and
God.
bags were falling out, and she was freaking
I
out.
would have to.
She said, we're renting a car and driving home. I said, it's like 19, 20 hours. I don't care. I finally talked her and get back, and she's not flown since then. She refuses to fly. I wanted to go to Guam, and she's like, no.
She wanted to.
I said, well, we can go to Hawaii. Some friends was going to Hawaii. We can go to Hawaii. No.
Yeah.
I said, you say you want to travel in a car.
Yeah.
We'll never go anywhere where we got to fly. You know, that's just the bottom line. You know, it ain't going to happen.
Why don't they make planes to where, okay, you got this big plane, you got this humongous plane I'm seeing, and then you got where the back end lowers down and they troops jump. Why can't they make like a Boeing like that? You know, everybody's like, well, you get sucked up in the engines. But if your engines die, I mean, wouldn't you rather take a chance with a parachute? I would.
Well, you know, I had to go to survival school when I've been in the military about 6 years, and I had to go to Washington State and go to survival school. And it's like a mock prison camp and stuff, and when you get there, they measure your height and your width and everything, your size, and they build a box just for you, and it's got a little square with a door on it here. They open where you can see your eyes. You can't fall down in the box because it's so tight on you, and they shut the door and latch it, and that's simulated prisoner of war thing. And they'll take you in there in your underwear. The girls in there in their bra and panties, and we're all in the same room, and we're turned to where we can't. And if they hear you talking, they'll come pull you out and they'll hit you with a big old wet hose, you know.
Really?
Oh yeah. And they had to treat you like if you got captured.
Oh,
That's
they
what
want
was gonna
treat you
happen
like a
to you.
prisoner of
Oh,
war,
yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And they would tie our hands behind our back in a chair, and they'd sit there and punch you in the rib, trying to get you to tell them your social and everything. They'd show you pictures of your family, and they'd tell you, you know, we're gonna kidnap them, we're gonna beat them dead and everything, you know. And I'm sitting there like, I got punched in the mouth. The guy said, we know where your parents live, we're gonna go kill them. I said, good, I got a good inheritance. That guy punched me so hard, he knocked me backwards in that chair. And he left me laying there on the floor, my lip was bleeding and everything. And I was laughing at it, because I knew in my mind they couldn't kill me. They could hurt me, but they couldn't kill me because everything was being videoed. And if it got out of hand, like one girl, they were threatening to come in and attack her. They was gonna sexually assault her and everything, trying to get her to talk. And she just freaked out, and one of them grabbed her arm, she freaked out, and they had to fly her out, medevac her out for mental.
Really?
Oh yeah, she lost it. But, I mean, they put us out, this is the same girl, and I was glad she left, because they put us out in the woods, and there was 4 guys and 2 girls, and they gave us 1 rabbit, 3 matches, and 1 little razor blade knife, box cutter. And that rabbit was our supper and breakfast and lunch. Other than eating, we would take bark off of trees and boil it and drink that, kind of like a bark soup. We were eating those white grubs, old stumps, pull them up, eating them, put them on a stick and cook them. But she let her rabbit go on day 2. Because she said she wasn't going to kill that rabbit to eat it. She let it go. And I thought them other 2 guys in our group was going to beat her to death. I mean, they called her every name in the book. And we got caught because of her. she said it was cold. I mean, it was snow on the ground. We had on just regular BDU uniforms. They were thin and regular boots and stuff. And they put us out there and they gave us a map and we had to try to get this place without getting caught. And we had 7 days to do it, or 5 days to do it. We had one rabbit to eat.
Oh wow. So it was kind of like naked and afraid almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He said we were clothed and stupid.
Yeah.
And
Clothes.
she said she had enough of that and she was leaving, blah, we told her fine, we left her. Well, we didn't get a half a mile from her. Cause the track we had to go on the mountains like 11 miles in 5 days.
Oh wow.
And we left her and she was sitting there crying and the enemy, the people in charge of school, they found her. So if you find one of you all die or you get captured. So that's why we had to go in the boxes. And it was her fault. And then everybody was laughing. They said, we're gonna take you, we're gonna rape you and all this stuff, you know, and the one guy's going, yeah, do it, you know. And they grabbed her arms and shaking her. She was really scared. These are Army Special Forces. These are like 6'5", look like Stone Cold Steve Austin dudes, every one of them.
G.I. Joe. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, face were painted black. A lot of them wore hoods so you couldn't see their face. But, you know, and they would just punch on you and try to get, I never would tell them anything, you know, I tell them, they asked me who sent me there. I think I told them Elvis Presley or so it was something stupid. And one guy said, they're taking that on all of us. Just tell them what they want to know. I ain't telling them nothing, you know. I said, they can't hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can. I think I got 2 cracked ribs. I said, better being dead, you know. I said, if you get caught by the real terrorists,
It's gonna be a lot worse.
they ain't gonna
Yeah.
ask you but once, and they're gonna put a bullet in your head. So you gotta be prepared, you know. But I always looked at it as a job. I did every day. I looked at it as going to work, doing a job, going to work. Because if you get caught up in the stupid stuff and let it bother you, you'll start thinking about home. You'll start thinking about everything else,
Right.
everybody, and you get caught up in that, and then you're no good to anybody then, you know. And a lot of people, that's why I say it's not for everybody.
Right.
So if you're listening and you're thinking about joining the service, it ain't for everybody.
You better make sure.
I'm not saying I'm some kind of badass or anything, but I learned to deal with it, and I was good at dealing with stuff like that,
Right.
you know. But some people aren't. Some people crack under pressure.
There's a lot of those torture things too. I saw where Saddam Hussein, he actually had, it looked like a field house, and you had like the containment wall, you know, like a little 1 foot wall, 2 foot maybe, something like that. But you know, you actually had tires set out, and then you had those hooks hanging from the ceiling, and they would make people, they would actually like bind you on a chain or whatever, and those people the water would get up over the tires, you know, and they'd be holding themselves up because he had like extension cords laying in the water.
Oh,
You know, I mean, it would be,
they would torture some of them. They would stick them like those. You see those meat hooks that come down, the stainless steel meat hooks,
yeah.
and they would stick you up not on your spine but just under your skin. He did his own people like that. They'd stick them up under skin, let them hang there, and the only thing you're hanging by is your raw skin. And they would come in and they would be hanging there in like just underpants, and they would like whip them, beat them, throw gasoline on their wounds and everything. And he did that to his own soldiers if he felt like they betrayed him and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
We had it made, you know, they'd send us home, you know.
Yeah.
You're going back to the States, you know. But
yeah.
I mean, people like, kind of like the senior center. They beat them like that, throw them off the cliff, take away their bingo games and everything else. And it just makes me mad because I might want to go up there and play bingo when I get older, you know. I think
Yeah.
what's the age for seniors? Is it 55?
55.
Well, see,
Yeah.
I'm a senior already. So
Yeah.
that
You could
really
even-
just pisses me off.
Yeah. You could wear like a holly pond hat, come up here like,
Mhm.
you
Be a traitor. Get back to your village.
You could run your own bingo team from Holly Pond.
Oh yeah, we could have like a competition.
There you go. We could do like a bracket, like March
Winner gets a
Madness or
free
something.
meal at the Brandon Iron.
That's right.
You get a free hamburger steak at the Brandon Iron for the winners. You know, my son, then when they beat West Point, whoever wins, the other team has to buy the other team
Oh, okay.
a
So I
steak
didn't know that.
dinner.
Yeah.
And they just had theirs a couple of weeks ago, and my son told me, hey, the 16-ounce ribeye. But I mean, we beat them this year. I think it was like 55-6 or something
Yeah.
or something.
I bet that was a good steak.
Oh yeah, the last 2 years they've had to buy a steak because I guess I don't know if it's brothers. I know the relatives that own both of them, and the one in Fairview they make a
Yeah.
bed every year, and that's why we call it the Brandon Iron Bowl. They have a trophy for it and everything, and the winner gets a steak dinner bought from the losing team.
See, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the Super Bowl.
See, that's what with when I was in school, Holly Pond and Fairview were big rivals.
And now they don't even play anymore. They
I know.
refuse to play us now. They
Yeah.
don't play us, which I don't know.
I don't either. I mean,
We've got 54 kids. They've got. I think somebody told me they had 18 sign up for next year.
yeah. See,
I mean, the last time we played them, was it, I think Fairview, we beat them 77-14 or something. And that's cause we put the JV in, you know, and it was raining, God, it was coming a flood that night.
We got beat bad by Fairview both years whenever I was in school. Actually, I guess all 3 years. Yeah. We just didn't have the people. We didn't have the depth.
But you know, they wanna play us in things that they think they can beat us in, like basketball, softball. They wanna schedule that kind of stuff, but they don't wanna play football.
Right, yeah.
And you know, at one point, you know, Fairview was like, Mr. Gamble was like, well, you know, if you're not gonna play us and everything, we're not gonna play you at all, you know, but I mean, I guess he gave you in because we still played them one game in basketball this year. They beat us, the varsity boys. They beat us. Like I said, they had a
They had a good team. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
very good. Holly Pond's basketball was amazing. That's your phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like,
Tony, I'm on the air, all right? But they, I mean, that rivalry's always been there. When I was in school, we held our own against them in football, but we had the Greg McKenzie's, Kelly Poirier, all them, Luckett Collins. I mean, all those guys. We had some good ball players. Darryl Albright, all them. We had good ball players.
yeah.
And it was always a good game. And then I think after they I think about 86, 87 is where it just started gradually going on. But like I said, you got Coach Redding over here at Fairview's been a football coach there for what, 19 years, I think, 19, 20 years.
Yeah.
You got consistency. Over there, they've had 5 coaches in 7 years. You know, you can't
Do that.
you can't build a program like that.
What was he coached AJ McCarron. I cannot believe I'm like
Bates.
Bates. Yeah, I like him. Yeah, Bates is a good one.
He was one of the reasons why we put Barrett in Holly Pond, because he's supposed to be a good quarterback coach, you know. And Barrett had been taking lessons since he was, I don't know, 9. And before we left Georgia, like within months of moving up here, he'd been taking lessons from Notre Dame. This guy was Notre Dame starting quarterback for 3 years, and that's who was giving him lessons. It's like $160 for 2 hours on a Sunday, every Sunday. And he was taking lessons from him. We come up here, and, you know, we talked to them, Coach Bates and Coach Moss, and Coach Bates. Yeah, I coached AJ McCarron, you know, and all this stuff, you know. I'm like, okay, that's cool, you know. And then he left too. When Moss left, Coach Bates left. His grandson, I guess, was going to Coleman or something, so he wanted to go up and watch him play and be part of his growing up, which you can't blame him.
No.
And that left us with Coach Cornelius, and I mean, that was like a dead end for Barrett. You know, he could have stayed at Holly Pond and been a super athlete. I mean, he made the paper this year every Friday night except for 2. He was on the front cover of the Daily or the Time or something, you know. But Holly Pond, he would have been a superstar over there.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
Cornelius was actually one of my coaches.
Was he?
Yeah.
He's been there since the school was open, what, 1903 or something?
He's been there, well, I was 2002, so, yeah, he's been here 21 years, just
Probably
from
longer
me.
than that.
Well, no, it'd have to be, yeah.
Well, he was the head coach last year because Coach Moss had or year before last, Coach Moss, and I think Coach Moss came back last year. I don't know if they won a game last year or not. I don't think they did. I think they were rolling
Can't
in.
remember on that.
But I mean, this year, I don't know who's coaching. They were looking for a coach. So, you know, and they've asked a couple people. A lot of people don't have the time for that. You know, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
Yeah, it does. And a lot of, they want you to, like, teach something, too,
Well,
I think.
That's the thing. Coach Moss, I don't think taught anything. He just had to be there at 1:30 every day and get to practice. Get it going.
See, they changed that.
But they want you to be a teacher.
Right, yeah.
They want you to be a teacher, you know, like Coach Redding's a vice principal. He doesn't teach in class, but he's a vice principal, you know.
Right.
But I don't know, it just, the same coaches have been over there for years. Like Coach Simmons has been with him since the get-go. Yeah, and I mean, you build off that. And like Holly Pond, you had Coach Cornelius, and then next year you had Coach Moss. And then most of their coaches are volunteers over there.
Right.
You got Ty Wilson, my son loved him. I mean, everybody else over there didn't like Ty, my son loved him. They got along great.
Yeah.
You know, he still talks to him every time he sees him, he hugs him at the ball games, all they on. I mean, they have some good people over there. It's just, and everybody, you know, kind of got mad at me, said, well, the reason we're like we are is because people like you keep moving their kids to other schools, the bigger schools, you know what? And I honestly, it's just my opinion, I see Holly Pond within the next 5 or 6 years going K-8 or something. And then everybody having to go to Fairview or Hansville or somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Because their numbers just look low. I mean, everybody I talk to says they got like 20 kids in this class, 18 in this one. I see it turn into like a Parkside, a feeder like Welty. I went to Welty all the way up through 9th grade. And
We love getting those Welty people, man. when those Welty
Oh,
people
yeah.
come.
Yeah, you like getting Chuck Gamble and all them guys. Yeah.
We had a lot of really good athletes come from there, and Welty was always.
It was a feeder school.
Yeah, it was funny though because I think the basketball goals were 10 foot, but I think the ceiling in the gym. You had to shoot a line drive if you were gonna make anything.
You know, me and Marty Hardiman, because we played against each other when I was in Welty. We graduated the same year, and him and Wayne Gardner and all them, they tell me all, I hated going to that gym. You know, it had them rafters, and we knew I could inbound a pass from one end to the other and not hit the rafters. They'd come in there and try to make a half court throw, and bam,
I remember
out of
that.
bounds. Yeah. I mean, there was so many marks up there, those brown spots where everybody hit it.
It was like
And under the goal, when you did a layup, if you didn't stop as soon as you hit the ground, you hit that mat, that big red mat. I mean, it was, and we'd watch people, they'd come play at Joppa because they had the better gym out of most of the county schools back then. I mean, their goals let down, you know, with cables, and you had about 10 feet here to that wall after you did a layup and you ran out of bounds. Well, they'd come play at Welty and they'd get a fast break, do a layup, and you'd hear, boom, boom.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, they'd hit the
that
wall and hit
was
the floor.
right there.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost in line with the backboard.
Yeah, and when you had to throw the ball in bounds, the fans would have to move their feet out of the way so you could stand out of bounds to throw the ball in. Because if you're on a fast break run, you're seeing shoes stick, you're having to dodge boots and shoes sticking out of people sitting on the bottom bleacher. You know, and our scoreboard was bigger than our gym. They donated us this scoreboard, and it was like the size of your wall back here.
Oh
And
yeah.
it took up half of the gym. You could throw a pass from one end to the other, and if they missed it, it'd bounce off the scoreboard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. Man, it was.
I love that gym. I mean,
Yeah, I like it. I'm sure y'all did. The Welty people can
oh, yeah,
shoot on it.
you have to be talented to play in that gym.
If you were playing there, you were like, oh, we're doomed.
I'll never forget, we were playing, somebody, it was our Thanksgiving tournament, and Greg Boatwright and Bruce Lackey, I think, was refereeing. And I was the point guard, and Keith Quick broke away on a fast break, and he ran off the wall, off the mat, and I threw the ball up to him and he dunked it. And Bruce Lackey, and it was Hollis Henry was the one ref, and they're looking at each other like, and Bruce was like, technical? And Coach Palace was our coach over there.
I love to coach fouls.
Oh yeah, ball was great. And he's like, what are you doing? You know, we were winning by like 14 points when Keith did that. They called it technical on him, you know. It was crazy, but he did that. We did that a couple of times. We did that during games, and Coach Palace we'd run dead man for 2 hours after practice after that, you know. And the whole team had run, so they were mad. Yeah. But we had we played our 9th grade year, our junior high A team, we had 7 people on it. That was it.
Really?
7. And we won the Joppa Christmas tournament that year. And Keith fouled out, David Burnham fouled out, and I think Michael Williams fouled out. We finished the game with 4 players the last minute and a half, and we won by like 4 points. We got to cut down the nets. Boy, we were big time.
Oh man, yeah. Big times back then.
Big time.
Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Before we're done, I brought you something.
Uh-oh.
Brought you a little souvenir.
All right.
2 of them. This one here, when I was a first sergeant, we used to give these out to the troops. The little
nice.
coins. People
Yeah.
collect them. I've got like 100 of them. And I got that one when I was a first sergeant from one of the commanders. And we used to give them out as first sergeant to troops when they did good. But you're doing a good thing. Getting
I
people
appreciate
hurt.
it, man. Yeah.
And then this one was when I was on the IG team, Inspector General team.
Yeah.
And we had those in our pocket all the time to give them out to people.
I'll do a close up of that too.
But they, yeah, it's just something we used to give the troops when they did something good and everything, recognition for them. People collect them. I know people that's got shadow boxes made with hundreds of them in it.
Well, see, that's what building this wall. I've got several pictures I've got to print off. I've been terrible on getting. Me and you'll get a picture before we leave, and then I'll put these on there with it too, because I mean, people doing great stuff, and like this guy here, you know,
Well, I didn't know what you would bring.
Yeah, but I mean,
I can see like nobody's business now, but.
honest to God, none of these people could do what they do. If it wasn't for folks like
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean. Like
Where's that bodybuilder? She give you a picture?
Not yet. I got to print it off too, but yeah. I mean,
They have been successful, haven't they?
yeah, they have, man. Coleman's
UFC.
full, dude. Coleman is full. That was actually Bellator 289.
But see, Coleman has a lot of talent, but they don't get recognized.
They
You know,
don't.
this is a good thing to bring people on to get. I mean, there's probably you could book your show for the next 2
Oh,
years
man, I
with just
know,
the talent
yes.
here, whether it's fishing, hunting,
Anything,
archery,
you know,
anything,
yeah.
sports, anything. I mean, you could just pick and choose from Wallace. They got a lot of talent down there.
Man,
A lot of
I
good
know, yeah.
athletes. I mean,
There's so many folks around here that does great things, and that's what, you know, doing this podcast, I'm like,
you should
man,
bring
I like-
Callaway on here.
I should
The mayor of Bayleton. Yeah, bring him on here.
drop
We'll
my
sit
show
here and ask him
ratings.
10 questions with the mayor of Bayleton. That should be interesting.
Drop my show ratings.
But they probably go up. At least 389 people would
Yeah,
like it.
they would listen.
But I mean, we knock on the guy, and I don't agree with what he did. But there's always two sides to every story. But I think I've heard both sides, and
yeah.
he's
It
on
don't
the
matter.
losing end.
Yeah.
But I think it'll work itself out. I really
Kids
do.
and seniors, you don't mess with. That's just
Oh,
the
yeah.
way it is, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff. And,
But Karma.
oh yeah, it'll
Karma's
come back.
Karma's a preacher.
I hope they're all good friends, the brother-in-laws, because I think it's about the only ones they're gonna have left. Yeah.
Their family reunion just got shorter. About that.
Yeah, I did.
But I enjoyed it, man.
I did too, man. It was
Maybe
fun.
we can do it again.
Hey, we
sometime.
will.
We need to get about 5 or 6 of us
We
together.
will.
and
We
do one.
will.
I might get more microphones. You might need a bigger.
Yeah, I might need a bigger iPad.
But
I was recording with a cell phone, and I've got a lot of listeners. I don't know if a lot of people knows that this is actually available on YouTube. There's a lot. I got way more YouTubers than I do, like podcast listeners. But if you're listening, you can look up Guess Two with Jacob Gibbs on YouTube. You can find it there. Reach out to me if you got somebody you'd like to hear come on or whatever. Let me know. Don't be bashful. Just come out and, hey, I'd like to come on and this and that, because I mean, that is what this is for. Is I mean, I just like meeting people, and you know, you're my first veteran that's been on the show, and I appreciate your service and
I
everything.
think I'm the longest living veteran in Holly Pond.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
maybe.
No, I'm not.
But
Coach
yeah,
Brian, he's a veteran.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them
I
out
need to
there.
get
you know.
Mr. Brian on sometime.
But he's kind of like me. He don't. I mean, we don't. You know, people tell me thanks for your service all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're what? You know, I'm not one of them that wants to. Anyway, so
yeah.
I just
Well, it needs to be recognized. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just,
I mean,
you know,
I get my 10% at Lowe's.
freedom, my guy.
And
It's-
Walkers now after they see this.
Yes. I mean, freedom. There's not a bigger accomplishment.
Well, you get
than-
to do this. You get
Right,
to do
yeah.
things you
I
like.
can. I'm gonna go to bed tonight and lay my head down, and I ain't gonna be worried about nothing. I mean,
Well, I don't know. You might need to be worried.
But I mean, you know,
the way
it's like-
everything's going now, you might need to be
yeah.
worried.
But I mean, it really is. I mean, support your troops. Do not kneel at that flag, especially don't do it in front of me. And yeah, y'all keep it. Keep telling these people, even if they don't want to hear it like you don't. Yeah, I do appreciate your service, and it goes a long ways. And yeah, I'm able to do what I'm able to do tonight for that. So, well, all right, folks. Scott York, Air Force veteran. Good night.